Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Happy New Year! Yeah! 2024 is here, and your Cleveland Browns are going to the playoffs. Is this a new look? Did you get some Christmas gear?
Took a week off and came back. Santa came early for him.
I tucked this.
Trying to figure this out.
This has always been in the tuck. This is Polar Express. You know what it is, man. Shout out to everybody. This is pristine.
You know
what I'm saying?
This look like some bad boys.
Hey, it is. Listen, shout out to Loon.
Jay's back from vacation. G. Bush is off the IR. He was a
Were
mess.
you hurt? Were you injured?
Oh, man, I was sending the pictures out, man. I don't know what was going on with my throat. Pause. My throat was just like, it was just literally bleeding everywhere. I couldn't talk. I had no voice for a minute. So I just sit down, you know what I'm saying? I sat down and contemplated some things, and I decided that
Did some reflecting.
Get some reflecting on like what I was doing with my life, and I said I need to stop the Kool-Aid. Psych! I still got the Kool-Aid. Stop playing around. It's extra.
That's why your throat was bleeding, because you drank too much Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I thought it was it. I thought that was
like
it.
I always say, you know how it ended for those that drank the Kool-Aid.
That's true.
Right.
They all died.
They all was out of here. I was
Throats were bleeding and everything else.
Speaking of Kool-Aid, I got a question about. So Earl came on a couple weeks ago and said the Browns will go 5-0.
Yeah.
If the Browns rest their starters and they lose, does that
That's
count?
not 5-0.
No.
That's not fair though.
Well, I'm not here for fair. Life isn't fair.
That's Earl.
They would not be
Earl, that's
5-0.
some
Bull
weak
is right.
stuff.
I mean,
That's
they'd be
weak.
4-1, and there's no wiggle room
But
on
that's
that.
weak.
They
though.
need Jeff
It
Driscoll
is
to
weak.
kill. They got to get Jeff Driscoll better get his money off.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I go. That's
We're
the
going
way
to
love
talk about
goes.
how much we want to see Jeff Driscoll.
By the
on
way,
Sunday.
speaking of quarterbacks, the last Browns not Super Bowl, but
Yes.
the last Browns championship quarterback, Frank Ryan, passed away yesterday. I think he was 90, 87.
87,
I think. I read that yesterday.
Condolences
I
to his
think he was
family.
87. Yeah, I mean, he's it. If you're looking for the guy that last brought a championship to the city of Cleveland in the sport of football, he's your guy. So, R.I.P. Frank Ryan. Never saw him play. I'm not that old, guys.
Yeah.
My dad saw him play a lot. My dad said he was not spectacular. He used to say, he's a prototypical guy that I would want leading my franchise. Not spectacular, but could make the big throws. And
Could hand the ball to Jim
not
Brown.
up and down, and he knew his role. Here you go, Jim. Get me 9.
And get that coffee, too. The coffee's warm.
Our first good morning of the year to Mikey McNuggets behind the glass. Happy New Year.
What's up, guys? Happy New Year. It's good to have everybody back. I feel like we haven't had a 4-person show in forever. Couple housekeeping notes before we jump into some topics today. But first off, congratulations, Tyvis, on winning the UCSS Fantasy Championship.
Tyvis won?
Tyvis
G.
won.
Bush took him out.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Congratulations.
You stop paying attention.
You got second?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Congratulations. Bull was 4th or 3rd?
Third.
Congratulations.
The worst fantasy team in fantasy history somehow won it all.
listen.
Was it really?
It was
Our
our
team was terrible.
It was hour by hour. It was touch and go.
Yeah.
Tyvis jumped out to a nice lead.
Who had the big game for you this week?
Kyron Williams, 30 points,
yeah.
3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Kyron helped me in my other league, too. Thank
Star.
you, Kyron
He was a
Williams.
star.
I mean, then Geno Smith was balling for him.
He had
I'm
like
damn.
18.
And then he had the double joint where I think he had 2 people playing at the same time. Who was the other receiver you had that was killing?
For the Packers.
It was-
Jaden Reed.
this dude-
Yeah,
it
the
came
double
down to
score
it.
is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
I got a double score in my other championship round. I had Patrick Mahomes to Pacheco. And that's like hitting it. That's like you just keep hearing the quarters fall.
The
That's
Cincinnati game, I had Joe Mixon and Jake Brown. He
and
threw the
Drake
touchdown
Brown.
to Joe Mixon. I said,
Nice.
oh, my
And
goodness, thank you.
So what I'm hearing then is, had I not been overruled by my son, and I would have started Baker Mayfield against you, I would have the championship.
Well, we don't know that.
Is that how
Who
you
knows?
No, because
Well, the next week,
you would have
Yeah.
played Steve.
I
Beckman.
had like 190 points. Nobody scored more than me the next week. So I would have at least been in the finals.
And I had
Well, congratulations.
I had
you.
Pacheco sitting on the bench. They switched it up. It was like,
Wait, you put Pacheco down?
Well, he had a concussion.
He had a
so they
concussion,
didn't-
and he had a
yeah,
short
yeah.
He
league.
wasn't supposed to play.
Yeah, but
and he didn't even practice. And
I
I'm
let
like,
him ride. I let
An
him ride.
embarrassing job by Steve Becker, who played me for third, because you win money for third place.
Yeah.
Right.
And he started a guy who was hurt.
Oh, he didn't set
He
his
kept
lineup.
Raheem Mostert in the lineup.
I got to tell you, though,
he
once
just
I'm
gave up.
eliminated, I'm out, too.
Yeah.
I don't set
That's
my
how I
lineup.
feel,
I don't look.
too.
I don't even look. I'm like, I didn't win. I don't care. I don't care.
I am.
Congratulations, though, Ty.
Anyway,
Shout out
Tyvus
Tyvus.
is the champion.
Well, how much money? There was money in
There
Six
was
balls.
Six
he
bills.
won $6 So
Where are we going to dinner?
He's already been paid.
That would handle the marble room, the four of us.
you see how I put
so
that head
shout out
down?
Tyvus for that. Also, Earl and myself joined a fan league with some of the UCSS super fans, and Anthony joined as well. J Ray won that. Earl came in dead last. Just want to throw that out there. J-Ray.
Earl had a rough fantasy football season.
How did you do in our league?
Rough.
He didn't make
say
the
it again.
playoffs.
Yeah, rough.
Who finished last? Had to be.
It was Leroy.
Leroy.
So,
Leroy stopped setting his lineup.
What's
and
the
everything.
punishment again?
Leroy's not going to do it.
He's not going to do it.
It's a
Oh,
video.
no.
Isn't it a music video?
Would he get the money had he finished first?
Yes.
He
Okay.
paid very late, so yeah. I mean,
He would. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I
no,
think we'd
fair's
write him a
fair.
check if he won it.
That's true.
Can he pay his way out of it?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Maybe he
point.
pays
What
for
would
the
it
dinner.
take for all of you guys for Tyvus not to make this video?
Leroy.
Or Leroy?
Somebody
Yeah.
say, Tyvus, I'll make the video with flying colors.
Yeah, I know you would. Never met a camera you didn't love.
Yeah.
How much would it take for you?
I mean, he got
$150?
Yeah.
So for $600,
Yeah. Gets off the
$750.
hook.
I'll tell Leroy. Yeah.
No
And,
fit-
last thing, I want to make this public statement very clear. On New Year's Eve, I was out, met some guy, and the first question he asked me, watching the show, thank you for watching. He had some friends from New Jersey, cool dude. And he asked why me and Bull don't get along. So I just want to clear the record.
I don't understand this.
You
Me and
and
Bull are
Bull are
homies.
brothers.
Me and Bull are homies. There's
You're
no
baby
bad
Bull.
blood. Yeah.
Well, Bull, whatever you say, honey. You're right, Bull. You're right. Oh, you know what? I just changed my
Listen.
mind. Bull, I agree with you. Bull, you're absolutely right. I have 9 pages of notes here to argue against you. But now that I know how Bull's going to say it, I'm with you.
What do you mean? What do you mean we have topics? We're scrapping those.
Hold on. You're going to see me and Bull go at it on the first actual topic because we cannot be further
We
apart
do
on how to
disagree on this
disagree
first
Oh,
first
you
topic.
disagree
But-
now. By the time it's over, here's Mikey. You know, I've changed my mind.
No, not even close. But there's not an ounce of bad blood between me and Bull. I enjoy everyone out on this panel. And
I
don't
don't
really-
understand.
it's
There's
like
no
the
bad
10th
blood
person that's
between
asked me the
anybody.
last
Anybody.
Yeah,
There's
I don't get
no
it. So-
bad blood.
I'm asked that a lot,
Just wanna
too,
clear
usually
it up.
about Bull. And I
I
always tell
know.
people, I say, we must be doing a really good job if you think
Yes.
we hate each other.
It's so
Because
funny.
obviously you have to find flashpoints. On a show like this,
Yeah.
if there's no contention, there's really no show.
It's boring.
You couldn't watch 4 guys up here and all say the same thing. It
be
wouldn't
boring.
work.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've been part of it. It can't work.
Don't brother-in-law the drill, Tyvus.
I don't argue with none of y'all.
Yes, you do.
You
All
argue
the
with all of
time.
us, but you agree with us.
All the time.
I do not argue with y'all.
G and I were arguing against you on something recently. I
like
can't remember what it was.
you was
but-
He's
arguing.
arguing
Oh, on the
right
Joe
now with
Flacco
all of
and
us
Miles
that he
Garrett.
doesn't
That's the
argue
most
with
important
us.
player.
Oh, yeah, y'all was dead wrong on that
About
one.
what?
Joe Flacco and Miles
Joe
Garrett.
Flacco and
That was
Miles
Joe
dead
Flacco
wrong.
is definitely more important than Miles Garrett right now.
You got some white beard fuzz from your wool on your
Oh, for real?
There's only one rivalry on this show that's actually
Thank you, man.
comes from like a bad place, and that's
appreciate that, man.
Director Steve versus Tyvus.
I'm about
That's
to
the
say,
only-
That's the ugliest
That's the
thing.
only
that one's
relationship
real.
on this show.
Because I don't like Steve.
Yeah,
I don't.
that's it. Other than that, everyone's cool. Everyone's cool.
Yes,
so
there's no bad blood. So
Why don't
Anybody
Steve-
watch the games yesterday?
phenomenal.
I did not watch the second game.
I didn't watch the second one.
I didn't watch the second
Nobody
one.
did.
I didn't watch the second
The
one.
first one was, listen.
It was a great game.
They did.
Kudos
Hats
to
off
Michigan,
to Michigan, man.
Yeah.
Hats
you gotta
off.
give credit where credit's due. They doing their thing.
Yeah,
it
well,
looked
you
very
know what?
special.
My son was talking to Greg Schiano after the Rutgers game, and
After they-
Corey said flat out, "Who's the best team in the Big Ten?" He said, "Oh, it's not even close." He said,
He called them.
thought he was gonna say Ohio State.
He
He
was
said-
the one that called them the cheaters.
"Yeah, but if you go back, he's made some comments since he wasn't. He said in that interview he
Yeah.
wasn't talking about that.
Oh, okay.
He was talking about something else.
Well,
He's
that
talking
run
about
by Blake
officiating.
Corum for the touchdown in overtime was
clutch,
unbelievable.
absolutely
Yeah.
clutch. But what he told Corey at the time was unequivocally the best team, and Corey was like, "Really? Over Ohio State? No question. Why?
Easily.
The line."
Yep.
He said they are violently aggressive on both sides of the line. And it really drives home the old adage. It used to be, that's how you would win in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
That's
the
how
line.
Woody
In
won
the
year after
trenches.
year after year. And it's funny that it's full circle. And he's obviously a Bo Schembechler disciple. He has built that line to be not just good or above average. Some think it's the best in college football on both sides. That's how you win.
And what makes me laugh is that, when Ryan Day got into it with Lou Holtz because he called him a finesse team because of the line play.
He was right.
No, listen, let's not credit Lou Holtz for that. Let's credit our old friend Maurice Claret, who on this
said that
show
2 years ago.
last season, not this past season, 2 seasons ago, sat here and said, our guys are too concerned about what their socks look like. Our guys are too concerned about their swag and their uniform. Do I look like a rock star?
Yeah.
And he said, Michigan is concerned about one thing. Do I play like a rock star? And I think Maurice hit the nail on the head.
Sad day.
More on this later.
We're going to talk about
get to
Ryan
it.
Day and his job security coming up. But in the meantime, should Kevin? Wait, we got to do it.
We got to start. Yes, we have to start with the FanDuel read. New Year, same title sponsor, and that is our friends over at FanDuel. The regular season of the NFL is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets. Win or lose, just place the bet as a new customer, and you get $150 in bonus bets. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of bettings to bet on and different ways to bet, including live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explorer tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. And today's winning FanDuel ticket comes from our guy Bubba, who turned $20 into $3,836 in the Browns game. He changed all the alternate individual player props. Flacco over 300. Elijah Moore over 40 receiving yards. Elijah Moore anytime touchdown. Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown. Browns money line. Breece Hall under receiving yards. And Njoku over receptions. That turned $20 into $3,836.
Good for him.
And 64 cents.
Hey, that Flacco over 300, he had like 290 in the first half.
So
He had 294.
He had to sweat that out, though, because
They barely threw the ball in the second half.
they just decided to get conservative on
Man,
us.
he had that ticket won at halftime. What are you talking about?
Just about, except for that Flacco number. I'm
I
sure
mean,
there was a time in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, where he was like, I'm not going to get it.
Are you down now? Did you switch and convert? Did you convert to the
came
Flacco?
around last
You
week.
came around after that 300?
Oh, that's right. You wasn't
He wasn't here
I
last
wasn't
week.
here.
Right,
You
that's
gonna
right.
say you came around?
Listen, I looked right into that
Okay.
camera
Wait,
right there.
he wasn't down with Flacco?
He said he didn't
Let me-
convert.
Hold on, let me
Go ahead.
see. That's what happens when
See,
you take breaks. That's what
My mind is, listen, I don't know
take
what you
breaks.
said last week.
Anyways, what happened was the conversation was I said that Joe Flacco's performance, I put an asterisk by it. Because he was going against the 29th ranked pass defense, 27th, and 25th.
Got it.
I
Okay.
said if he does it against the Jets, who was the #2 ranked pass
And he did
defense,
it.
I'm a firm believer. And I look right into that camera on Friday's show, on the YouTube show, and on Channel 3. Make sure y'all check us out on Fridays at 12:30 to 1 o'clock.
Nice
when we
plug.
live. Anyways, I said Joe Flacco, I am wacko for Flacco. Joe Flacco went for over 300 yards. He looked great. Long as he don't turn the ball over, this thing go to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
All right, we pull up the car to the curb to get you in. All right, listen. We welcome all newcomers if you want to get on.
Yeah,
get
I
on
hope
down.
you don't flatten the tires of the bandwagon.
Bandwagon is here. All the national media.
I'm on a diet now, so
You
I'm
on your New Year's Day
losing
diet?
weight. Yeah, I've given up bread and I'm lowering my carb intake.
Good, that's smart. Also, drop your sugar. That's my thing.
That's
this
what
year.
my wife said. I'm
Yeah,
not ready.
sugar's
I'm
the
not ready to
toxin.
go there.
Sugar is the body's toxin.
But I am drinking
I
more-
promise
I
you,
am drinking more
All that
water.
ails you is sugar related. And I'll also say this: at the end of the show, Mikey's going to play a game with us. This sounds fun. He's going to give us a Browns player. We're going to have to say what that player's New Year's resolution should be.
That's dope.
All right. In the meantime, Kevin Stefanski's got a huge decision on his hands because it's rest versus rust. We've talked about this a million times. In baseball, it's very interesting, particularly with pitchers getting them out of their 5-day rhythm. If the Browns starters don't go, it would be 17 or 18 days between starts. That gets pretty lengthy at that point. What does Stefanski do? Does he rest or does he run the risk of building up rust?
To me, it's a no-brainer, guys. I rest them. The Browns haven't had a bye week since week 5. They had the earliest bye week. They've been the most beat-up team in all the league. And yes, they have thrived in the chaos. They have done a magnificent job dealing with injuries. But this is a no-brainer here. Joe Flacco is a veteran. If I was going with a young quarterback, maybe I would think otherwise because, he hasn't been here before. Joe Flacco's been to the playoffs many, many times. And he has as many road wins. He and Tom Brady, I think, are 1-2 in
tied.
road wins. He's second?
Tied.
Tied.
Is it
7
9 or
road
11,
wins.
something like that each?
7 each. Tied for most
7
of the time.
each.
Joe Flacco is about to turn 39 years old. Who knows how many games he has left in the tank? I don't want to waste one of those games in the tank in a game that is 100% meaningless. The Browns cannot move from the 5 spot. It's not like even they could drop to the 6 or something like that. No, they are locked 100% into the 5 spot. In case you cared about it, the game doesn't mean anything to the Bengals, so it's not like you're affecting the playoffs in another way. So, to me, there's guys that are banged up that I can't play, including offensive linemen. And that's another reason. It's like, well, if I'm going to sit a couple of offensive linemen that are banged up, I'm not putting Joe Flacco behind a bunch of backups. So to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. I sit all the important players.
Ty.
Yeah, I'm not playing them either. Anybody that thinks that they should play has not played the game of football because you know how physical this game is. And on top of that, just knowing the history of the Cleveland Browns, it seems like every single Sunday we march out there, somebody goes down. I'm not willing to run the risk. This is the first time we've already had to overcome all this adversity. Let's at least go with at least the core guys that I know can at least make it in the playoffs and be successful. So I'm not running the risk. I'm not rolling nobody out there. The twos and the backups need some reps. These young guys need reps. Just in case something happened, they need to plug and play. We already know it's the next man up, but let's get these young guys some game reps. So if just in case something happens in the playoffs, the lights aren't too bright. Because I've heard that one before.
Man, it's all fun and game till somebody die. It's all funny until somebody die. And I'm not being, talking about death right now. I'm talking about, go back and look at Bradley Chubb. You think they don't want that back? You in the game and
they're getting boat raced.
They're getting boat raced. That game don't count for nothing.
What was he doing on the field?
You got one of the best defensive ends. He's probably having a great year, 11 sacks. And he's running around trying to chase third-team running backs, and he blows his knee out. Now, here's the thing. What did you get from that? And you as a coach saying, well, I wish I would have, hindsight 2020. If you put your players out there and you ain't got nothing to win, it's all about ego. You telling me that 12th win is more than being able to come into the playoffs ready to go? You're crazy, man. I'm not playing none of these dudes. I wouldn't play Flacco. I wouldn't play anybody significant up front. Myles Garrett is on bubble wrap right now. Don't even talk to Zadarius Smith. You trying to get it to a point. You're supposed to use this. Think about it like this. This is your bye. If you wanted to people play hard all year to get a first round bye.
Yeah.
This essentially is a first round bye in your first game against a team in the AFC South. And you're most likely going to play in a warm climate. So guess what? Guys are ready to go, refreshed, reinvigorated, and this is no-brainer. I'm not playing nobody. I got the JVs playing.
Yeah, you are going to play in a warm climate.
Yep.
You're either going to play in the Dome in Indianapolis, or you'll be in Houston or Jacksonville.
Yep.
Done deal. So,
Two domes
and the beauty of this is, how often, I don't know that this has ever happened before, they have the possibility of playing 3 teams that they've beaten. They've beaten all 3 of these teams. They're going to have a better record than all 3 of these teams. Yeah. Couldn't agree more with you guys. And I know it doesn't make a boring show when everybody agrees.
No, I'm going to disagree.
Okay, good. Well, then we'll save your thoughts for last. But honestly, there are only bad things that can happen when you. And the Bradley Chubb thing for me cements it. And this isn't the first time we've seen something like that happen. What is mind-boggling to me, when Bradley Chubb was being carted off the field, his head coach, Mike McDaniel, gets down on his knee and he's got his arm around him while he's on the gurney, and he knows that he's done.
Yeah,
he also knows that he's probably not playing until 3rd or 4th quarter of next season.
That's crazy. I hate that.
He's got his arm around the young man, and he's saying something to him. And the only thing I can hear as I'm trying to figure out what the conversation is about is he's trying to explain himself away.
Yep.
Why he had you out on the field in a meaningless – that down was as meaningless as any of the preseason snaps. It meant nothing. And it drives home again the point that you cannot afford to lose one of your best players. And, Bull, you said it's a no-brainer. I agree, because what are you going to learn in Game 17 that you haven't learned already? You can't better your position. Now, all of that being said – Kevin Stefanski has a tightrope to walk here. It's a slick dance. He has to have the team maintain their edge. He does not want to send the message to his team, we're going to Cincinnati to punch the ticket and come home. We don't care about the outcome. Winning breeds winning, losing breeds losing. I do not want to go into the playoffs on a disappointing loss to a team that likely will also be sitting some of its starters. I'd be surprised if Chase plays.
Yeah,
Why
I think
would he?
so.
So I think Cincinnati's going to make the same decision. So it's basically going to be your backups against our backups. However, we have a big dog in the fight. Yes, 12 wins is nice. It's an ego feed. It's nice. It means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But what does mean something is how you go into the playoffs. I loved what you said about the bye week. In seasons past, the top 2 teams got the bye. Even though the Browns could never be the 2 seed, in all likelihood, they'll finish with the second best record in the AFC. So reward yourself with that bye, but earn it. Go into the playoffs on a victory over Cincinnati, finish 4-2 in the toughest division in the NFL, and move on into the playoffs. And I want to see what Pierre Strong can do with 25 carries.
That's the
Right.
that's the
And
first
and
person
who's
I
our
thought
backup
about.
quarterback?
That's everybody.
Is it Driscoll or is it
Phillip.
PJ?
No, it's
And-
Phillip.
Phillip. I forgot.
And I want to see Cedric Tillman and David Bell get 10 targets.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Let these guys play a lot. That's it. And think about this. You guys both mentioned Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and Houston. You know what else they have in common besides all being alive for the AFC South Championship? They're all playing this weekend.
Yep.
They all got to play their guys.
This is a playoff game for those.
And
all
their-
3 of those teams.
And their quarterback, C.J. Stroud's just coming off that concussion, right? Trevor Lawrence is banged up. The Colts are already on their backup quarterback, so those teams all have to play.
Yeah.
And they're risking injuries and all this stuff. And,
Sure.
And that's it. The only reason to consider playing is the whole rest versus rust. But nobody's ever been able to prove for me. Every time a team that had a bye loses, it's like, well, they were rusty. Well, do we know that's why they lost? We don't know that.
No, we don't. But one time, I can't remember the year. It was either 14 or 15. There was a question of, I think it might have been Kansas City was going to rest. There were 3 or 4 teams that had won, they were going to rest. And we had asked our research division at ESPN, see if you can find out. It's very, very difficult to find out. Here's what they learned. Well, this team rested 4 of their starters, their main starters, quarterback-wise. Does that mean that the whole team rested?
Right.
And they won. There was one trend, which I think needs to be brought up. I can't remember the number, but it was more than 50%. The majority of the teams that rested, and the way we decided to do it was the core stars on offense, not linemen, even though they're very important.
Yeah.
Did the team rest its quarterback, its running back, and a wide receiver? All 3 of those. Oddly enough, the majority of the teams that rested when they could have played ended up losing in the first round of the playoffs. It was very small. It wasn't like it was lopsided. It was close. And again, because they didn't rest all their starters, it's very difficult to say how rusty is a team, how rested is a team.
Right.
I don't know.
You can't quantify rest versus rust by numbers.
can't.
I went back. I tried finding any. I spent like 2 hours yesterday trying to dig through to find anything I could find to help. It's more of a gut feel.
Right.
I disagree with you guys in this particular instance. I tried to explain this before the show. In 99 out of 100 cases, I'm with you guys. You rest, get healthy. But in this particular case, with this particular set of circumstances for the Browns, I disagree. And here's why. What we have with Joe Flacco right now, even in our wildest dreams, I don't think any of us could have imagined Joe Flacco playing this well in the Cleveland Browns, in a Cleveland Browns uniform through 5 weeks. Gee, you're the most diehard, optimistic Browns fan I know. In your wildest dreams, could you have imagined Flacco joining Jim Kelly, Patrick Mahomes, and Peyton Manning as the only quarterbacks to throw for 1,600 yards and 13 touchdowns in a calendar month?
I wouldn't say that, but I did say he was going to throw for 300 every game.
So he's played great, but he's played even better than the
He's
wildest
played
imagination.
historically great.
Yes.
So,
I didn't see that.
yeah, none of us did.
I saw him
And
being a
we would've been
serviceable
crazy.
quarterback
No.
that gave us a chance.
We would have been crazy to predict that
And
beforehand.
no one saw it coming.
And because of that, because Joe Flacco, for whatever reason, he's found the rhythm he's in, the practice schedule, the connection, I am terrified. And yeah, you can say I'm playing scared, and I'll take that. And I hear all the merits to resting. I think that's a very valid case. I am more scared of doing anything to get Joe Flacco out of the current rhythm he's on with, once again, no analytical or statistical backup to prove that this would throw him off his rhythm. Because I think for the Browns to reach their ultimate goal this season, which I think the Browns can win the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco playing at the level he's at right now,
Right.
I am not risking anything to take him out of that rhythm. And I hear all the risks. Players that got hurt all season. Yes. Their offensive line may not have all their starters because Bitonio probably needs a rest more than anyone else. I hear it. You may not have Moore and Cooper. I get it. I'm not even suggesting he plays the full game. Maybe treat it like the last preseason game. He plays a quarter and a half, 4 or 5 series. But make sure he stays in that game rhythm, in the rhythm he's in right now, because if he's not playing at this level, I don't think the Browns can win a Super Bowl. And I tried thinking of the best analogy I could find, and it's probably not great. I tried putting my G. Bush hat on, but this is what I came up with. And if you guys hate it, we'll just never talk about it again. But I think it's kind of accurate.
If we hate it enough, we'll always talk about it.
Yeah, perfect. Joe Flacco in this current situation with the Browns, and once again, it's not apples to apples, but it's fruit. Joe Flacco in this instance is your dad on Parents' Weekend in college, come with you to the pregame at the frat party, and he steps on the beer pong table, and all of a sudden he hits 4 or 5 shots in a row, and he's like, I got to use the bathroom. Are you letting your dad leave the beer pong table after he just made 4 or 5 shots in a row? He called Island.
He's old, could have incontinence. I don't want him pissing himself at the party. Go to the bathroom, Pops.
We're finishing this damn game, and then you can take a piss. Piss your pants, but we ain't getting off the table.
Knowing my dad's
I am
bladder.
not letting Joe Flacco leave the table till the job is done.
You're basing this all on, like, nonsense, non-factual beliefs.
And resting guys, as we just proved, has no factual backing
it's a
that it
feeling.
actually helps.
Yeah, I think he is. I think you're right, but I think we are too. I mean, my gut. Here's what I would ask you to do: put yourself in Mike McDaniel's situation. You look a lot like him.
No. Here's the difference. I said this on the
You
show I
look
did
a
yesterday.
lot like
Mike McDaniel thing was coaching malpractice. There was 0 to gain by Bradley Chubb being in the game.
Well,
down
hold on.
30.
What?
I got it. Wait a
There's
minute.
0 to gain.
I got a question for you,
At least in this instance, and then Tyvus, you could ask your question. At least in this instance, you could see the other side of not wanting to get out.
Okay,
of the
but now you're Kevin Stefanski.
yes.
Flacco gets blindsided first play of the game, carted off on a gurney.
Yeah, I feel like
You
dog
You
crap.
don't have to have
Feel like
one
dog crap.
conversation with Joe Flacco. Put your arm around and say, "Sorry, kid, I just woke you up in the middle of your craziest fantasy dream. I'm sorry, you're back to reality." You have to have 53 of those conversations.
No.
You have to look Myles Garrett in the eye, who may be no closer to his ultimate team goal than he is right now.
He has to
You
look
have to
all of
look
us
him in
in
the
the
eye. You have to look Browns Nation in the eye. You have to look Jimmy Haslam in the eye. And you have to hear in your head, and now you're starting lineup for the Cleveland Browns against Jacksonville. At quarterback, Jeff Driscoll. And all eyes are going to turn to you on the sideline. Okay, you ready for that?
The
Well,
season's
Tyvus said-
over.
as Tyvus
If Joe
said last
Flacco
week,
gets
they can
hurt,
win
the
a Super
season's
Bowl.
over. That's it. End of situation.
Exclamation point.
They're not beating anybody with those two guys.
Whoa.
And that's why I think you got to keep Joe Flacco in this zone. It's like a shooter, Jay. You're pitching, right?
I get it, but he's
So my thing.
already 2 quarterbacks have season-ending injuries in this offense.
I hear it.
With this line.
Like I said, I totally
just
get the other
don't
side of
wanna-
it. I totally understand the hesitation, the scare. I totally get that. And like I said, in 99 cases out of 100, I'm actually with you guys. I just think this
He
Joe
had
Flacco
11
magic
months
in a
of
bottle
rust and
is so
jumped off
different.
his
And
couch
it didn't matter.
with the soda in one hand and a bag of popcorn in the other and has never played better.
That's my point, so don't stop. Let him rock.
McNuggets.
If he
up,
can
Tyvus?
come back
Question.
from 11 months on the couch and look that good, I think 17 days will be okay.
And he's already out of rhythm because they played on Thursday this past week, so the rhythm wasn't the same. He didn't practice the same amount.
Let
this
me ask
past
you guys
week.
this. What about this?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a
let
middle
Ty ask
ground.
this question real quick because Ty wanted to chime
Okay,
in. We'll
ask
get back
it.
to that. Ty, sorry.
So my question for you, McNuggets, would you take?
Yes.
Would you take 254 yards, 2 touchdowns as a stat line for the playoff game?
What's the picks?
The 1, 2 to 1.
So you're talking about the Rams
PJ,
game.
He's asking a PJ Walker stat line.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you 254 yards.
Was that
2
what it was against the
touchdowns, and
Rams?
Yeah, I
one
think that's
pick.
what he did against the Rams.
That was the Rams game.
Yeah, would you take that?
Against
They
Jacksonville?
lost that game, Tyvus.
In Jacksonville,
If
would
he
you
does
take
that against any of the AFC South teams, they very likely win, in my opinion.
They
Okay.
could beat the South, yeah, but they're not beating
That's
Baltimore.
his first game off the couch.
Yeah.
Denver don't count. His
Right.
first game as a starter off the couch. That was his numbers. Why would you would take that?
Did they win that game, Ty?
Now, by the way, the
not the
Rams
point.
have turned out to be a damn good football
Yeah, I
team.
want to say the Rams.
This is things about sports. Sometimes people don't get it. Sometimes you have one chance to do something special. You don't get to run it back. Like, there's so many people that miss their opportunity. There's people around here that you know what, if I would have made it to that interview, if I would have played my senior year, if we would have never played Joe Flacco. Look, we played in the game, and 9/11 happened, the game gets postponed, and my career was over after running that game back. We were 1-10. We postponed the game. We played Phillip Rivers, and everybody was so excited to play because you're a MAC team, and you're like, oh, this is going to be awesome. But I'm looking around like, man, I just had a nasty feeling about it. I'm like, I don't want to play this game. Like, we going to go out here and get smashed. My mom kept telling me not to play. I'm like, my dad's like, come on, what are you talking about? You kids don't get a chance to do that. Stop, you're doing too much. And I tore my ACL. I got blindsided, blocked, tore my ACL. And all of the off-season work you had planned to do and all of the training stuff that you talk about, they say, yo, you playing a lot. You get the off-season program, let's gain some weight. Guess where we want you at? When I tore that ACL, it was done. There was no chance for me coming back because I was already a MAC player. And now I gotta ramp up just to get back and playing. Sometimes, it sucks, but the Cleveland Browns got something special going. Your job is to babysit it. Sometimes your job is to don't let the kid kill himself if you babysit. Just put him in front of that TV, give him the internet, sit by him, and don't let him do nothing dumb. And that's what the Browns need to do.
It's not rest versus rust. It's risk versus reward.
I like that.
And to me, him playing is either no reward or a minuscule reward, where the risk is way too high.
Well, what I'm going to tell you is, as a former athlete, I'm going to tell you right now, if you got any doubt, if you I don't really feel like playing, do not go out there. Because I'm telling you right now, if your heart ain't in it, I'm telling you right, you're going to be lackadaisical out there and something's going to happen. I'm telling you. So if you're not going to be 100% and play hard, do not go out there. And I just don't see, they're going to look at it like, what's the point of us being out here? So we're not going to play 100%.
Let me ask you this, Tyvus, as a former player. Would you have them, even though they're not going to play?
They're practicing.
They are practicing.
Right?
Practice.
Yeah, you ain't getting out of that. You are
still
practicing.
Risk of injury, much less. Is there middle ground? Maybe we play Flacco a quarter just to keep him in that game rhythm.
Nope. That's what I want.
None.
Not for me. No, I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
I've got my scenario.
Because now you asking that means your whole offensive line got to get dressed and go out there for one. No,
that's right.
No,
yeah.
not doing that.
And we trying to get people back. We trying to see if Delpit come back. We can see with Juan Thornhill.
Ogbo.
You don't know what
Dustin Hopkins.
Yeah,
you don't know what these dudes is dealing with. My shoulder might be hurting. Like this one game off might get it back to close to 100%.
Right, Denzel and Myles Garrett are still not 100%.
Not going out there.
I think if you would have asked the Browns at the beginning of the season, and obviously there's no way to figure out how this thing played out, but if you would ask any NFL team at the beginning of the season, how'd you like to rest your starter 17 days between last week of the regular season and first week of the playoffs? Every team, hand up.
Yep.
I'll take it. Give it to me.
Isn't this the first? I think this is the first time the Browns have been in this situation since
I can't
the 90s.
remember it.
Ever.
Yeah,
At least.
Corey was home. My son was home over the break, and he said, I think, Dad, in my lifetime,
this
is the first time that the Browns will play a regular season game where
they're locked in
in the playoffs. They're already in.
Right, didn't happen in 2020. It didn't happen in 2000 And
you got to go back to 90.
Yeah, Belichick, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
And you know what? To be truthful, that wild card is setting up real nice right now. You got the AFC South. You sitting pretty. I'm like, these dudes don't scare me at all. I could get healthy, and then there's a chance the way the Bills is playing and some of these other teams that they could potentially upset a floundering Dolphins team.
Well, I think the Bills are going to win and win the division.
I do too.
They are.
Yeah, we talked about the Bills like at the halfway point of the season. I kept saying they're like Jason from the Friday the 13th movie. If you can death knell them, get them out.
But I'm not they remind me of us, to be honest with you. I would actually like to see a game against them.
I would love to play
I
Buffalo.
feel like they're just like the Cleveland Browns to where they get a bunch of touchdowns, but they turn the ball over at a high clip too.
Yeah.
So
but they got Josh Allen.
I never thought I would say it, man. It's Kansas City, boy. I don't know. I text Darren like,
they look like a different
what
team.
are y'all doing?
They look like a different squad.
Their defense is playing well.
They won. their last game on defense.
Their offense,
They got winners fatigue, man. They ready to go home early this year. Every year they always deep into.
And you know what? Here they are again, home for the playoffs.
but they won't.
I mean, not throughout, but
Patrick Mahomes has never played a road game in the playoffs,
not.
but he will this year if they, if they
played
win.
neutral site games in the Super Bowls, obviously. Okay, another read, and then we move on.
As we learn more about what Stefanski plans to do, we will continue to have this rest verse. Actually, Bo, I like how you were.
We won't find out today because they're off today, right?
They're off today, but I'm saying as later in the week as we find out. New sponsor alert, guys, but Game Time is officially part of the UCSS roster. If you ever had a frustrating time buying a ticket or finding online tickets, you weren't sure where to go or if you could find good seats for the right price, well, don't worry because Game Time has the answer. You will never have to worry about buying tickets to your next event again. Download the Game Time app. It's the only ticketing app that gives you a complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front, so you don't have to worry about extra fees hitting you on the back end, and you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. You could buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps, so take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. You can download the app in the App Store, just create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply again. Just create an account and redeem the code. That is promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today for last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Guys, we're going to talk about the wide receiver situation for the Browns, but I want to start with this. I'm going to show you a blind resume, and tell me if you guys can figure out who this is.
Kenny Galladay.
70 targets. This season,
Off top,
this season.
What a pool.
70 targets, 32 receptions, 347 reception yards, and a touchdown. Who is that?
Wait a minute.
10 seconds.
This guy plays for the Browns?
10, 9.
No,
No,
well-
who is it? It could be anybody. 8, 7.
Harrison.
It's impossible to guess. So, Steve,
Harrison Brown.
Odell Beckham Jr.
let's see who it is.
No, Odell's got more than that.
This is what you combined with Cedric Tillman, David Bell, and Marquise Goodwin this season. So if Elijah Moore can't go, these are receivers 2, 3, and 4 at the moment. So with that in mind, guys, if Elijah Moore is not back from his concussion by the playoffs, he definitely will not play in Week 18. Do you think the Browns need to peruse the free agent market to find another receiver, possibly call up Austin Watkins Jr. from the practice squad?
Wait a minute. What did you just say? If he's not back Sunday, he's definitely not playing Week 18?
No, he says he's definitely not playing Week 18. He may be
If he's
back
not
for
back
the
for
playoffs.
the- right.
He's not back for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Guys, I would say.
I see. Okay.
I said this last week, Jay, you and G were not here. I'd be giving Jarvis Landry a call right now.
I've said that Week 10.
What does he have? I don't know what he has left in the tank. Obviously, he worked out for somebody a few weeks ago.
The Colts on the 20th.
And they didn't sign him, so that's a little telling. But I would definitely give Jarvis Landry a call because he would be a perfect fit here, assuming he, he's not that old. I'm surprised he's
What
out
is
of
he,
the
29?
league.
Probably
I don't know.
30.
I'll look it
I
up.
don't think he's
30.
30
Yeah,
yet.
he's not very old.
And he's certainly not much older than that, even if he is 30.
He's
so
31.
29
He's
is
31.
that's young.
No.
That's young enough for one postseason
If you're a
run.
wide receiver in the NFL, you're closer to the end than the beginning.
I'm not talking about signing him long term. I'm
No,
talking
we
about
don't
signing
need
him
him
for
long
the next month.
And Bull, remember we had these same conversations about Kareem Hunt and Joe Flacco. Remember? Right here in these chairs.
Yeah. Yep.
We had the same exact conversation. Should they call Kareem Hunt?
Yes.
Yes, they did. Look what he's doing this year. He's
They-
been an incredible goal line back.
I always said the thing about Jarvis is he brings something that you don't necessarily have.
The
in that.
intangibles.
It's the toughness, the physicality. He literally changed the whole mindset of a position, a team actually.
Like
When they- when
when
they-
he had when he went viral for the you guys got to practice type speech,
Yeah.
like that changed everything. So
Yeah.
he brings something because the wide receiver room. Amari Cooper's a great receiver, but he's not a vocal guy. He's pretty quiet about things.
Yeah.
Jarvis brings that passion, that energy that's going to get them going. I'm still cool with Marquise Goodwin because although his numbers isn't great, he missed a bunch of the season with the concussion. Putting him out there still scares the heck out of any DB
Yeah.
that lines up against
He's a nice
him. So
decoy
that
for
right
the
there
deep
is
ball.
still going to get you. And Joe Flacco's proven that he can hit him on a deep route.
I
So
just feel like Jarvis can come off the couch and catch you 5 passes for 50 yards.
I agree.
Right, and
I wonder
he
what
gets
kind of
some first
shape he was in.
downs.
The fact that the Colts didn't sign
Yeah,
him.
I mean that's a little bit of a red flag. But
the Colts is stupid.
We got to
But
see
again,
who they signed. Who did
again,
they sign?
we don't know what he looks like.
I just said this a minute ago. Risk versus reward. You sign Jarvis Landry, there's zero risk. What's the risk?
I'm
paying him league minimum, probably.
I'm the Duke of knee jerk, but here's what I'm going to tell you, man. If they bring Jarvis Landry in, they up the ante and tell me that they trying to win a Super Bowl. I really think he can be a missing piece on a team. The Browns, where they at, a veteran. He's the dude that comes in, and I know a lot of people don't like storylines, but there's a lot of people that wasn't advocating for Joe Flacco when we was advocating for him. There was a lot of people saying Kareem Hunt was done 3. This dude got 10 touchdowns. We're not asking Jarvis Landry to be 3, 5, 10 years Jarvis Landry. We asking Jarvis Landry in the AFC Championship game to come down with a clutch 39.
You telling me he's not better than David Bell right now?
Yeah.
You can't tell me he can't get open on press man coverage against some rookie. That type, and when you look at the story, think about how if you get a Jarvis Landry who never wanted to leave to start with, like Kareem Hunt talks about it. You talk to him, Jay, at the food thing. He wanted to be here. It's special. So for me, it may seem like, oh, this is a Disney story. I'm gonna tell you what. You bring Jarvis Landry in here, you give yourself a chance to get a Super Bowl.
So let's talk about Jarvis in this Colts workout. He worked out. It was 8 people that he worked out with, and all of them wasn't wide receivers. They ended up signing Jaden Mickens on the practice squad.
Is he a wide receiver?
He's a wide receiver, but he's a return guy. He's a return
so that's
specialist.
different.
The
Maybe
receivers was Jarvis, Kiki Kuti, Kendall Hinton, Adam Humphreys. That's a DB. Jaden Mickens.
Can you imagine Jarvis Landry
that was
showing
it.
up to that cattle call?
Yeah.
So that
I'm not excited about
What's
the
that?
names.
Who are the other names you had up there, Mike? Just in case, I'm curious.
Stevie Day, 164A. The other guy I think is kind of interesting. I was trying to look for guys who either have played in Stefanski's system,
Well,
and know the
Higgins was
playbook,
here.
or have a relationship with Joe Flacco. Because coming in this late, if they were to sign somebody, you're not going to totally pick up something new. And
Yeah,
Corey Davis was the
you're
other
right.
guy I kind of liked. He retired before the season. He was on the Jets, and he actually had a career
Right.
high in
Higgins
yards
was
per
here.
reception last year. Crowder and Galladay, I just threw on there. Crowder played with
So
Flacco
he has experience with Flacco.
with the Jets.
Corey
Crowder
Davis.
and Davis do.
The only 2 names on that list is Jarvis and Higgins. Why? Because it's so late in the season that they can pick the playbook up like that because they've already been in the system. I like Jarvis over all of those because Jarvis catches a drag route and he's a physical runner.
What were his numbers his last year in New Orleans? Because he hasn't been with the team.
I
very
think he
long.
missed a lot of the years.
I think he
Hurt.
did too. Maybe it's
I'd
just
be
a
okay
case
with
where-
any of those guys. Gala, I have no interest in Gala.
Not
The rest of them are all fine. If it's not, Landry's clearly the best choice.
Come on, AB. Listen.
Last year, Jarvis Landry only played 9 games, had 25 receptions for 270 yards and 1 touchdown.
We don't.
I mean, that's kind of equivalent to what.
The 3 receivers.
What's
He's
his name
on a
is
very
doing?
Cedric Tillman pace, but he only
Hey.
played 9 games. Tillman's played more.
Hey,
but
you
he's
ever-
essentially Cedric Tillman number.
You ever grow up in your neighborhood and you used to be playing, football with the little tomboy down the street, and then all of a sudden one summer she come back, you're like, hold on. I don't want you. You're not a receiver right now. You actually doing your thing a little bit. And people, you don't want to date her. You say, listen, don't worry about that. Y'all's game ain't together. See, I can upgrade her. Listen. We could go get her into a nice outfit. She put her hair down. It's about to be a problem. You bring her into that homecoming. You're like, gee, Bush got him one, bro. Where did that come from? We not worried about nothing that happened with any other team. Jarvis Landry come up in here. You get him together with that visor back again. He gonna get 2 ticks faster.
Visor.
What do you?
You know what I love how G. Bush is styling up his girls.
Yes, sir.
Hey, hon, you got to get a nice outfit. You got to
Boom.
put that
What
hair
are we-
down.
what are you
Get those
asking?
heels. I'll give you a makeover.
Yeah, let's get the
What are
Browns
you
together.
asking these receivers to do? Like, it's not like Amari Cooper's gonna be healthy. And you got Marquise still got the speed. You still need somebody that can get the tough yards. If you
Like
throw him
first downs.
You throw him a
Yeah.
drag or something, he gonna catch the
Jarvis
ball.
Landry's a good first down wide receiver.
Hey, can you imagine if it's 3rd down and I got Njoku and I got Amari Cooper and Jarvis? I feel good about picking that up.
Was there any chatter about why Jarvis didn't get signed, what he looked like?
said-
Did you guys see anything
No, I
online?
don't
I
know.
wonder if he was looking for too much money, and by the time he was willing to take less.
Man, if you're
Nobody's
Jarvis,
interested.
you're playing for league minimum.
I mean, at
They
this
ended up
point,
signing a special teams guy because Mickens is one of the better returners. He
Yeah.
actually has been a very productive.
And maybe that's what they were looking for.
I wonder if that's more of what they were looking for.
Or they
than
needed a
anything
hybrid.
else.
Maybe they needed a return guy who could help them at receiver. We specifically need a receiver.
See, Jay, this is the analogy. When you're in the media, right? Once you get to a certain age, how many media guys go from Wichita to New York after the age of 50?
Oh, no, it ain't happening at that point. No.
Look, so
Yeah.
right, like look, you like, nah, I know for a fact you're not getting that off. So when you talk about a receiver, he's 31 years old. Why would I bring you in? I'm gonna get this up and coming. I'm gonna pay him less.
Right.
He's gonna do more,
Right.
and I ain't gotta worry about getting you the football.
Yeah.
Like it's just a no-brainer. But here's different.
The culture, though, I mean, if I'm the Colts and I can bring because there's one thing that everybody will agree on. He is going to upgrade your culture,
Yeah, no
period,
doubt.
no matter what. No matter
No
who, whatever team he goes to, there's going to be a buzz in the locker room. Jarvis is here.
Jarvis back.
Jarvis just walked in the building. Like, that, he'll bring a certain cachet. This
Yeah.
guy that they signed, he had to be introduced to everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
When you bring Jarvis in, there's going to be no introductions. There's going to be a lot of reunion hugs.
Yeah.
A lot.
And it shows this season. Anytime you brought somebody back, Kareem Hunt, it's helped you win.
And really, if you think about it, this season, you have a chance to. The narrative of this season can be like the island of misfit toys.
Boy.
You bring in Joe Flacco off of the couch. You bring in Kareem Hunt. No one wanted him. You bring in Jarvis Landry. Nobody wanted him. There's something to be said about a winner and a proven veteran who has done it at a high level. There is a certain amount of get back. I'll guarantee you, in Joe Flacco's mind, he has played this scenario out. We go to Baltimore for the AFC Championship.
Oh, yeah.
He's not human if he hasn't played that out.
Oh, he's playing
also
that,
not
yeah.
human if he doesn't see himself throwing for 4 touchdowns and rolling out with the Lamar Hunt trophy on his way to the Super Bowl.
I need one.
You know what I like about Jarvis is because Jarvis, when he first got here, he came out and said they sent me to Cleveland to end my career because people at that time Cleveland wasn't really good. He said Miami traded me here to let my career die, and he did such a great job of bringing them up and bringing light to the city. But it's got to be in his mind. I didn't finish it. That job isn't done.
You're right.
I wanted to bring a championship to that city. And right now, that group is on the cusp of doing that right now. I can be that piece. I can bring that attitude. I can bring that
Andrew.
passion.
Andrew Berry.
Let me finish what I started.
Yeah.
I think out of all the free agent spots, he still hasn't won a ring in his career, I don't think. Out of all the spots that he can land, Cleveland probably means the most to him right now because in his mind, he's saying to himself, I didn't finish my job.
And he can
So
go-
please give that
and
man
for
an opportunity
Miami,
to
Miami
finish
might
it.
too.
Tyvis, he and his man got a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, he
in
did.
Baltimore.
Yeah, he did.
So he like, listen, you got yours.
And again, I
still
talk
need
about
mine.
the redemptive piece of this.
Yeah.
If Flacco and Jarvis walk onto that field in Baltimore,
Man, that's a
Flacco has a chance to get over on his old team.
yup.
Jarvis has a chance to get over on his lifelong best friend and get a chance at adding that ring too.
That's
I
crazy.
think it's another layer to the redemptive story that has become 2023, now
Yeah.
2024. What, like Bull said, what do you have to lose?
It's
No,
free.
Yeah,
Bring
I'm about
it
to
in.
say, it's not
I
like
think
you
there's-
signed him to a big deal.
But even if it ends up not being Jarvis, even though he's our first choice for all of us, they should bring in somebody because that was a pretty vicious concussion that Elijah Moore had. I mean, Marquise Goodwin missed 5 weeks when he had the concussion.
And you wanna don't just sit pat. We applaud you for making a move with Flacco. It gave you life. Now Flacco is looking around and he got it. And I hope Joe Flacco goes to him because he has a little cachet built up too, and be like, look, I know I ain't, I'm glad y'all let me be in here, but now I'm a part of this. You got to get me somebody because it's going to come down to a couple of plays here or there.
Right.
And do you want to trust the young guys or do you want to have somebody that's in the holster ready?
You
to
want
go?
to have that. Right now, the Browns have 2 great options in the passing game.
Yes.
Cooper and Njoku. We're thrilled with them both. They're both doing great. You need that third trusted option. Because right now the third option is a crapshoot.
No.
And, Elijah, honestly, I mean, maybe it's probably unfair and it's probably not true, but I would actually trust Jarvis Landry even more than I trust Elijah Moore.
I would too.
Even though Elijah Moore's been playing all season. That's probably not fair, but that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's Jarvis Landry.
Yeah.
He's got almost 8,000 yards in his career. There's a reason. All right, Mike, what do you got?
We're going to talk about Ohio State in 1 sec, but a quick reminder that even if the Browns do not play their starters, if they agree with you and rest, we are still having a post-game show. We will be live at the 2-minute warning, as always, to recap the final regular season game of the season for the Cleveland Browns. It'll be me, G. Bush, Earl, as always, bringing you instant analysis to whatever happens against Cincinnati on Sunday. Let's talk a little Ohio State here, guys. It was obviously a disgusting showing against Missouri in the bowl game. And Tyvis, while you're here, what do they do with Ryan Day? The conversation, the question has to be asked now.
Go ahead.
What do they do with Ryan Day? I think
It's up to you. Is he back or is he gone?
Well,
Do you
Ryan,
care about the Missouri game, by the way? Does that matter?
I care zero about that
Yeah,
game.
I didn't care about it. Did you?
Zero.
Talk to him.
what do you mean care? What do
Like,
you,
did that, like, to me,
Did
if
it wreck your day when they lost?
Well, the
Not
question
mine.
is, like,
It's
that
not-
didn't change. I already thought I already would move on from Ryan Day. I don't
to
think that game's going to change my mind one way or the other.
And it shouldn't.
so
But-
that
Talk to him.
Disagree with?
yeah, because the thing about Ohio State is, even though the coaching stuff is messed up, you might got guys in and out of the lineup. I've never seen the product look that bad. Like that was
Against Missouri.
It was horrible. The worst performance. I watched the Buckeyes go 6-7 in the season, and that 6-7 team was smoked them. That's how I feel right now about them. That what they put out there is unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. The trenches got dominant, and we're talking about a team that wanted to go and play for the national championship this year. You can't even beat a mid-tier SEC
Wait.
school.
On the mid-tier thing,
That
hold on.
mid-tier. Don't
Hold
do
on.
that.
Did
Don't
you
do
watch
that.
the entire Missouri-Georgia game?
Yeah.
Yeah, what about it?
They had Georgia beat.
Yeah,
the late interception is the reason they lost that game.
Indiana's had teams beat many
Listen,
times in the Big
I
Ten,
just think
and
we
they
should
blow
be
it in the
careful
end.
with the mid-tier SEC team.
are they a top
that
tier?
team won 11 games. That team was top 25 in offense.
know.
That team was top 25 in defense.
Can we give it a tier in between the top and the mid?
I think they are closer
G,
to
but
the.
wait, when you hear
No.
Missouri, G, what you think?
Okay, I hear that they're supposed to be playing at the Outback Bowl. like here,
See that you're letting your history.
No, I'm not.
Your future.
But-
And
No.
are they eating blooming onions?
Listen, they have a really
Pretty good, though.
They
They
have
got
a
good back?
really good running back, and they have a really good wide receiver.
and the quarterback plays hard.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, their defense is top 25 in the country.
So is Ohio
playing
State.
in the Southeastern Conference.
So is Ohio State.
Okay.
Here's
So
the
they're in Ohio State's league this year. They beat Ohio State.
But they shouldn't
Here's the
be,
other
at
thing,
least.
too. The reason Missouri means nothing to me, you're playing without your best offensive player. You're playing without your starting quarterback, and the way it turned out, your second-team quarterback.
I won a championship like that.
From the first series on,
yeah.
okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Right. Cardale Jones proved up to the task. These guys, Cardale Jones isn't walking through that door.
That's the problem,
Is that Ryan
Jay.
Day's
That-
They were-
that's
they were-
Here,
I'm
there
gonna
you
tell
go.
you why.
What you
That's
talking
Cardale.
about is
and
irrelevant to me.
I'm going to tell you why. Cardale Jones didn't have the option of saying, Coach, see ya, I'm gone. Today,
What does that have to do with anything?
well, you know who would have been on this team?
Ooh.
Guy by the name of Ewers, who lost in the semifinal yesterday.
Yeah, but hold on. Devin Brown was a
He had the
five-star
opportunity
quarterback,
to
and
bolt.
So was Lincoln
He bolted.
Kineholz. There were two
Cardale
five-stars.
didn't.
Hey,
I don't
look,
understand what that has to do
Let
with
me give
it.
you this. Let me give you the history.
understand
It's
what
a level. It's levels to it. So you go way back. You had Troy Smith, right? Then after Troy Smith left, you had Terrell Pryor, and then you had Braxton Miller. After Braxton Miller, you had J.T. Barrett. After J.T. Barrett, who else did you have? Dwayne Haskins,
Justin
Fields,
CJ.
Throw
Throw Cardale in there.
and Cardale Jones in there.
Cardale in there.
And we get to this year. See, y'all be messing around in recruiting. What in the world are you doing with Devin Brown? I don't care what his 5 says. He is not it. When you run around with 33 on, you're a gimmick. Just the way we saw 98 with that dude from Michigan for years. Put a regular uniform on and get your mind ready to be a quarterback. You playing around. Now, Kyle McCord, when you transfer and go to Syracuse, you just tell me you wasn't that good. You just like, I ain't even want no more smoke. I'm just going to go to Syracuse. They better get in the portal And they better get in that portal.
Well, they've got a 5-star coming.
They got that quarterback coming.
What's his name?
What's his
Aaron
Nolan.
But they already have 2 5-stars in the room. These 2 were 5-stars. Lincoln was a 5-star. Devin Brown's a 5-star.
Where Devin
They
Brown
have the
come from?
talent on paper.
Yeah, but now that we've seen them, by the way, they're not
Isn't
the
that
first 5-stars.
so
that fell on
overrated?
on
What star a guy is?
Yes,
Like,
clearly.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
Yes, it's all we have, but it's what we use.
Wait a minute.
It's
let
like
me,
PFF
let me,
grades
Let
for
me
linemen.
answer the question because I never answered the question about Ryan Day. I was disgusted by the
Yeah.
performance. Y'all threw me off with that. But Ryan Day, the seat is on fire. The seat is on fire.
Oh,
this
that's
season.
a given.
What I would tell you is what you need to do. I will give you one more season. This is it. One more season. But there has to be some changes made on your coaching staff, my brother, because for many years you have went out there and promoted guys that don't deserve it. You got coaches in there that they really can't coach, that's really just collecting the paycheck. You have to cut that baggage and get guys in there that got football minds that's going to dedicate themselves to getting this program back to where it's at. Let the buddy stuff go. Yes, they're going to be mad at you. You're supposed to be your boy. You got to fire your boy. They always tell you never hire your friends or family. Get rid of both of them. Anybody that's on the staff that you feel like is not helping these kids, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, developing these kids and helping these kids get to where they got to get. If you're not going to do that and not have these guys on that staff, you're doing everybody at Ohio State a disservice.
Who doesn't belong?
You need to make some changes on your coaching staff.
Where?
Right now, today.
Where?
I don't like the
Who has to
defensive.
go?
I don't like the defensive coordinator. I hate their scheme.
I wouldn't say the defensive
I
coordinator.
still hate their scheme.
Because the defense, I'm not a huge fan
I
of the
hate
scheme,
it.
but the scheme did help them win. But at some point, we got to get some more production from the offensive line. That looks atrocious out
the
there.
O-line coach has
We
to
got to
go.
get some production from the defensive line. We can't get 5-star recruits and only get 5 stacks in the season. That's ridiculous. As far as wide receiver wise, I mean, Brian
Hartline isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere, but he's done his thing. But I tell you what, you won't notice for me a little bit this year because I give you the JSN, the Chris Olave, and the Garrett Wilson. I give you that. You did your thing on those. Marvin Harrison, you get no credit. That's the son of a Hall of Famer. He's going to be good. Pure talent.
No credit?
I need to see something. There's no way that Emeka should have looked the exact same. Julian Fleming should have looked the exact same. Who, by the way, is the biggest recruit wide receiver we've ever had in the history of Ohio State. He did not look any better this season. That's why he hit the transfer portal. It's to be no reason why you got a room full of 5-stars, but you only playing 3 wide receivers. Where is the rotation at in that? Help me figure it out. These guys are supposed to be good. You're supposed to be developing these guys. Why are we going in every game only confident in 3 guys playing? So we need to figure that situation out as well.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Jay, I know you're a diehard fan, and Tyvis, obviously, you're an alum. From an outsider's perspective, what always made Ohio State special and what made them one of the elite teams in college football is that Ohio, in terms of high school talent, is probably what? Fourth, fifth best in the country?
3rd or 4th, depending.
Okay.
And it usually goes Texas, California, New Jersey, Ohio, 3, 4.
Florida's in there,
Pennsylvania,
too.
Florida's in
Florida,
there.
right.
So, I mean,
But-
depending on the year, they're definitely top 5.
If you think of most of the other states that are great, especially Texas, Florida, and California, well, there's a lot of big-time colleges in all 3 of those states.
Absolutely right. They have an advantage.
You have one big-time college here. Cincinnati's not. I know they've had a couple of years, but they're not a big-time college. They're not a national university.
They're not.
Ohio State is a national university. You get students from all over the country, but what's special is you have a state with amazing high school talent, and in theory, every great player in Ohio should want to go to Ohio State. And I feel like maybe it's been trending that way in a while and I didn't notice it, but I feel like since Ryan Day's been there, that magic of being from Ohio has started to disappear.
Well,
from the
I will
school.
tell you though, you can go back.
I know Urban was recruiting guys out of state.
He was, but Charles Woodson played at Fremont. A lot closer to Columbus. He decided to go to
Jay,
Michigan.
there were enough great.
Desmond Howard played here in Cleveland.
But it
he
feels
got away.
like to the players that are there now that the rivalries and being from Ohio doesn't mean as much to the players there anymore.
No, you may be right on that. I don't know. I think generationally, I've had this talk with my son too. It is viewed differently. Younger kids view those rivalries differently now. They really do. There's so many more things now that come into play with the NIL and the portal and the ease of movement that players now have. Guys, get used to it. College football's product, to me, this was my least interested year in my lifetime. I am a die-hard college football fan. I love it. Just a little below the NFL for me. I was least interested this year than just about any other year. Now, I think that'll change next year when we go to 12. On the original question, you're a fire, you're a
Yeah.
keep, 1 year, seats on fire.
He better win a national championship next year or he's done. Because here's the thing. We forget how quickly your program can go from this to this. I'll name you a couple teams. Auburn. Nobody cares about Auburn. Y'all was just
Hell, LSU.
LSU. Y'all won the championship the next year. Ogeron is out of here. Florida State. Look how quickly you can be good and not. Ohio State can recruit anywhere. Florida. Not irrelevant. Oklahoma. Who cares about what you're doing? If you're Ohio State, you're supposed to be able to draft and bring guys in anywhere. The problem with Ohio State is this. I looked up the stats. I'm looking at, Chip Trainum. He's transferring, right?
Kentucky.
Yep.
Mayan Williams. I'm out of here. I'm going to go to the draft, right?
17 or 18 now in the portal,
Peace
right?
out.
18.
Fleming, the highest rated recruit you've had. He's up out of here. Emeka Ibuka, over 1,000 yards, 400 yards for a guy that was supposed to be talking about first round. Bye. Marvin Harrison, obviously, he was great. But the problem is, in your trenches, Henderson had 900 yards. Now, he has injuries, right?
He missed a lot of time.
He missed a lot of time. But when you watch the way Michigan runs the football, they get them tight splits, they get down in their stance, and it's going to be a game. They literally went, and this is Saban. They said, we ain't worried about you. We about to get you off this line of scrimmage. The
And they
aggressiveness that they play
But
with
you know how they
is
learned
different.
that? They learned that from going up against Georgia, 2 years ago? They got dominated on the line of scrimmage. So
Sure,
they said,
Jim
let's-
Harbaugh made the calculation. What do we have to fix?
The line of scrimmage. I don't know why it's never going to change. The offensive defensive line tells the story of the team every single time.
Well, the philosophical difference between football and college, in the South, it was always a speed game. You know this, Tyvis.
Yeah.
In the North and the Midwest, it was always, we're going to put our cattle ranchers up against your thoroughbreds. That's kind of the way it was. And in general, if you look for the length of college football over the last 50 years, excuse me, the speed has won out. There are exceptions. I'll give you a lot of them. Ohio State was an exception. Ohio State had great skills players, but when they last won it in 15, they were dominant on both sides of the line. They had great offensive and defensive lines. I think what's interesting to watch, I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday about this, and he agreed. I had said college basketball over the last 20 years has devolved into where I don't care. Why? Well, I can't follow the players. I don't know who's who. I don't know where they are. I don't know where they came from. They're one and done. No, there's no continuity. There's no team. You're rooting for the front of the jersey. You can't even get to know the back of the jersey. College football in 2 years has accomplished what it took college basketball 2 decades to do. These bowl games were a joke. The Florida State-Georgia game, and I was glad that Kirby Smart said something because he was the winning coach. And he came out flatly and said, guys, it's broken, and you better fix it. This doesn't work.
Well, they did it to themselves.
They did. They did it to themselves. What they did, I think, the pendulum was swinging, and instead of it like moving it marginally, they took it way over here.
That's the way it
And
works.
the damage is done. And I don't know how you put that genie back in the bottle.
Easy. You need to disavow and stop connecting sports with college. It's a ruse. Who says, come over here to follow your dreams, but you got to make me money first? Come on. You shouldn't have to go to school. You know what? All the big schools, go do your conference things. You get a deferred scholarship. You're not even going to school. And you're here to play games, get paid, and we'll give you a signing bonus. How it works is if you want
Well, then it becomes a league that competes with the NFL. It's professional football.
There you go. They are professionals. And the way you fix the transfer portal is saying this. You think really hard if you say, I'm getting $250,000 or whatever a year. And they say, listen, for every year that you re-sign, just like a regular worker, people get signing bonus and retention bonuses. I'm going to give you another $200. So if you like, well, oh, that's great. And then the next year, if it goes to 3, I'm going to give you some more. People would think twice.
Well, the first thing you'd see is you wouldn't have 85-man rosters. You'd have 50-man rosters.
And
so now you're eliminating the opportunity for 33 kids per program, 35 kids per program, times 120.
Come on down to the MAC. We'll give you a little money, not as much as them.
Let's wrap it up this way because I know we got Mary Kay waiting. I reached out to a bunch of former Buckeye players, friends that I've had through the years. Some played in the 90s, aughts, 10s, and none in the 20s. You're my No, you didn't play in the 20s either. I just asked 2 questions. Will Ryan Day be fired? Should Ryan Day be fired? It was universal. No and no to everybody. I just heard from the last one just as the show was starting. No and no. They all had trepidation. They all say, this is it. This is the last year. To your point.
You haven't wanted him fired. You saying last year also?
One more year.
One more year.
Now, you've got to figure out an exit strategy. You can't just willy-nilly, because this is what fans do that call into sports shows. He's got to go. Okay, so who's coming in?
Yeah, you got to have a plan. But
Who's
Ohio
coming
State
in?
should be able to get
So
whoever they
here's
want.
what I want. I want one of 2 guys.
Mike Vrabel.
Vrabel.
Who else?
Urban Meyer or Mike Vrabel. And if you can't get either of those guys,
Would you take Marcus Freeman?
no.
Okay.
The way he dissed Ohio State on the way out the door, no.
Okay.
He said some shitty things about this program, both when he was a player and even after his days as a player.
Jay fired up as a
He's
booster.
not coming back in. He's not. Hey, it's like in the movie Meet the Parents. Remember when he said, "Yo, we got a very small circle of trust,
Jay
and once you're outside that circle of
you're
trust,
out.
you're outside that circle of trust."
Jay been talking to
Okay,
Herb Street.
so quickly some stats. Okay, Urban Meyer had a winning percentage of .853, third all time in college football. Ryan Day's winning percentage is .875, better than Urban Meyer's. He's 56-8 in his 4 full seasons. He's made 3 trips to the playoffs, guys. 3 of his 4 full seasons ended with trips to the playoffs.
Take it to Mills.
5 bowls, Sugar Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, wins, Sugar and Rose wins, lost, Fiesta, Peach, Cotton. All of those are elite bowls.
Okay.
He's 2-3 in the bowls. 5-0 versus top 25s in 2019. Lost to the eventual runner-up in Clemson, 29-23 in the semifinals. 3-0 against top 25s in 2020. 4-2 in 2025 or 2021. The one stat that really jumps out at me that I want to give you: Jim Harbaugh in his first 5 seasons.
Oh, he was terrible
for Michigan. Terrible. It's beyond terrible.
He was
His winning percentage was .690. He was 49-22. Then they started stealing signs. No, they've been convicted. The Big Ten investigated. They've been convicted.
Bull over there.
I'm sick of hearing about
They
that
are.
at this point.
I know you are, but I'm not. They are .925 winning percentage since the sign stealing scandal started. .690 before it.
He dropped the Stein
.690 before it.
Jay, the
Michigan,
games
here's the
that
last
matter.
one, and then I'll let you
Yeah.
finish. Ryan Day is 41-3 in the Big Ten.
But nobody cares about that.
Hold on. Once the NCAA vacates all of Michigan's wins, Ryan Day is going to be 44-0 in the Big Ten. And you guys are advocating to fire him.
No, they won't
You
get
are.
wins. They'll still be
No. Listen, I talked to somebody that is very much. They work at the NCAA.
They lost those games. Nobody
They're
cares.
but they're going to vacate them.
Nobody
so
cares.
for the official record, if you cheat, and that's a discussion for another day, because I don't think the Astros deserve the World Series. I don't.
And we got to bring Mary Kay in here, Jay.
All right.
Very
But
valid. I appreciate you.
If
Mary
it's
Kay today is
possible,
brought
but
to
very
us
soon he's going to be
by
44-0 in the Big
FanDuel,
Ten.
America's #1 sportsbook. And even as the NFL season comes to a close, you can still get it on the action with FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets. Win or lose, the app is easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, including live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explorer tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSFs to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And with that, let's welcome in Mary Kay Cabot. Happy New Year, Mary Kay.
Mary
Mary
Kay.
Kay.
Happy New Year, guys. How you doing?
Happy
Good.
New Year, Mary Kay Cabot. I almost dropped a Mary. I'm like, no, I can't do that.
Hey, Mary Kay, we were just talking about Jarvis Landry a little bit ago. And, like, with Elijah Moore out, we don't know what his status is. Do you think the Browns might call Jarvis? I mean, wouldn't he be a great fit?
Can you start a rumor for us?
What's going on?
You know what? I haven't heard anything like that. I don't see that happening. But, you know, certainly he would bring a lot of energy and a lot of juice. Juice would bring plenty of fire to the program. So I haven't heard anything like that at all. Elijah's coming around. They probably don't have to play Elijah or Amari in this game. And, you know, to kind of upset the apple cart at this point, I don't know if they'd be willing to do that.
So who do you look at to step up in the absence of Elijah Moore if he can't come back? Do they elevate like a Austin Watkins, or you think they just very comfortable with Tillman, Bell, and my boy Marquise, who's a really good player?
Well, first of all, let me apologize that I still have the Christmas tree up. But in the profession that I'm in, I'll be lucky to get this thing down by the draft in April. So, so forgive, I'm going to apologize in advance for that. But again, I think that Elijah and Amari should be probably good to go by the wild card game, I would think. I mean, you never really know with the concussion. That was very scary what Elijah went through. But they do need some other guys to step up. And one that I'm going to mention is Cedric Tillman. If you look at Cedric Tillman on Pro Football Focus, his quarterback rating when the ball is thrown to him is the quarterback's rating is 25.1. That's unacceptable. Joe Flacco in one game, 2 of his 3 interceptions were on passes intended for Cedric Tillman. In this past game, I think you may have seen that there was an issue with the route running in the end zone. Joe walked off the field kind of mad about that. So Cedric just needs to step up. He needs to step up and get really super focused and buckle down and do whatever it takes this week. Get whatever advice he can, study whatever film he can, and make sure that he is working overtime. And just when he thinks he worked enough, then he needs to work a little bit more. So he's one that he's just going to have to step up. I think David Bell is ready for a little bit more. So, he's one that, you could play some more in the slot and give him a few of Elijah's reps if you had to. So these are some of the guys that are going to have to step up. And as you mentioned, they do have Austin Watkins on the practice squad waiting to step in and help them out a little bit. And then, Marquise Goodwin just really hasn't been able to make much of an impact this season. And I just don't know if they can really think that he's going to come through and make an enormous impact moving forward.
Mary Kay, out of the players that you look at being out right now, Grant Delpit, I didn't even know he had surgery. I think Bernie was on and he said he had surgery, and I didn't even know he was that injured. And then you have Obo, who is kind of in like a no man's land, floating around between, getting a second opinion and whether or not he wanted to have surgery or see if they can get him back. Are there some names of some guys that can really, really, take advantage of this?
Dustin
Hopkins, Borges. Are there some guys that could really take advantage of this 17, 18 days if they do sit, for the Bengals and then be ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think, in the case of someone like a Dustin Hopkins, why would you put him out there against the Bengals? You're not going to do that. That's just not smart football. So hopefully in his case for the Browns, he will be back for the wild card round because they're going to need him. They are going to need him. I mean, just when you look at that Colts game alone, they needed every one of his 4 field goals to win that football game, and 3 of them were in the 50-plus range. Now, of course, they had P.J. Walker playing in that game from the end of the first quarter on, and life is a lot different now with Joe Flacco. He's throwing touchdown passes, and so your kicker becomes a little bit less imperative than he was in those weeks when they did not have an elite quarterback playing for them. Obo Okoronkwo, you mentioned him. He is still trying to make it back, and I don't know if he'll make it back for the wild card game, but as he moves forward, he is trying to come back and play despite a torn pec. He wants to be part of these playoffs. Grant Delpit, as you mentioned, underwent groin surgery, and he's going to miss this game, but he's not needed for this game. But if he can get back, and he's really trying to get back for a playoff game, that will really help them tremendously. Same thing with Anthony Blunt.
Do you expect anybody of significance to actually play in this game?
Yeah, I think they'll have some good guys playing in this game because they know that, first of all, you just can't rest everybody. They've got to play some people. And, I think that they are so deep that you have significant guys playing for you, at all levels of the defense that, that might not be your starters anyways. So, you're going to get some good performances from some backup guys, the Cam Mitchells, the Ronnie Hickmans, the DeAnthony Bells. Even though these guys aren't necessarily starters, I think you'll see some good football out of them.
I'd like to see Pierre Strong, see what he can do with a full slate of carries. Do you anticipate that he's going to get more action than normal?
Yes, I do. I think he will get more action, and I think that'll be good for him. It'll be a good tune-up for the playoffs because I think he's got plenty to offer, and the more reps that he gets, the more warmed up he'll be. So I think this is a good week to get Pierre out there and get him feeling very confident for that wild card game.
Mary Kay, when you look at the quarterback situation, do you think that they say that they're resting Joe Flacco for this game? Do they split the count between Jeff Driscoll and Phil, or does one get more than the other?
It's a good question, and we haven't been out there yet for practice this week. That'll happen tomorrow. But yeah, I could see those guys splitting time. I could even see perhaps Jeff Driscoll getting the start just to see what he can do and, get him tuned up a little bit. Alex Van Pelt knows him very well. He knows what he's capable of. They were together in Cincinnati in 2018. Jeff Driscoll started 5 games that year for the Bengals. So Alex knows exactly what he's going to get from Jeff Driscoll. And who knows, he might get the start in this game.
I was just about to say that, Mary Kay. I would almost feel, and it's crazy to say this because P.J. Walker has beaten some teams, but I would lean towards, if something happened to Flacco, Jeff Driscoll being the quarterback. He can still run just as well as P.J. Walker, and he's not a turnover machine. I would like to see him play well in this game, and if something happens to Flacco, we'll roll with Jeff Driscoll.
Well, that has been the problem with P.J. Walker. Even though he gave the Browns a lot of effort, a lot of hustle, a lot of moxie, he threw only 1 touchdown pass against 5 interceptions. And his rating is like a 52.2. And that just doesn't really fly in Kevin Stefanski's world. Turning the ball over is the quickest way to get yourself benched in a Kevin Stefanski situation. So I think that's one of the reasons why you saw them going back to DTR. It didn't necessarily work out the way that they hoped, but PJ throws too many interceptions, and I do think that they would be inclined to give Jeff Driscoll a chance.
I guess that you could use this game for just that, right? Give them each a half, see what they look like. What can you tell us about Jeff Driscoll for those that aren't familiar with his game and what he looks like?
Well, he's a big guy, so he kind of has some carryover to Joe Flacco. He's an older quarterback. He's been around for a while. He can move pretty well. He's got a decent arm. Again, if you look at his 1-loss record, it will kind of surprise you. He's 1-9 in his 10 starts.
Wow.
But yes, so he doesn't bring a culture of winning necessarily with him. But but he has a skill set that that translates pretty well to what the Browns are trying to do, and he understands and knows the scheme and the terminology from having worked with Alex Van Pelt. So those are the pluses.
He's almost the opposite end of what P.J. Walker is, because if you look at P.J. Walker's stats, he's a turnover machine. He's almost 2 turnovers for every touchdown. Yet, somehow he has won games that you scratch your head at the end and say, wow, we just beat San Francisco with P.J. Walker.
I don't think you can look too much at a win-loss record on a short sample size for a backup quarterback.
Yeah, it's tough.
By the way, the league should change the rule because you can only bring up 2 guys from the practice squad each week. I think for the last week of the season, they should make all the practice squad guys eligible to play. This way you could have all those extra guys. Like in baseball, they expand the rosters in September.
That's a good idea.
They should do it for the last game or 2.
I like that.
They should definitely do that. And while we are talking about NFL rules, I just would love to weigh in for a second on the end of the Cowboys-Lions game. And I just want to say one thing about that real quick. And that is, in this day and age, with this kind of technology available to everyone, there's no way that something like that should happen.
I agree.
And I think the powers that be, they need to put their heads together in the offseason, the competition committee, and everybody needs to find a solution to when a bad call is made, especially at the end of a game. Maybe only at the end of the game this could be for. There needs to be a mechanism whereby you can just stop the world and get it right. And I don't know how that's going to work.
I think that's an excellent point. I've had a lot of conversations since the end of that game. Here was an idea that someone threw at me, and I don't remember who it was now, but this might clear a lot of it up. One of the things that was tricky to me was you saw that Decker was standing next to the referee.
Yep.
And 70 was on his way to the referee, but never made it to that point.
Right.
I don't know. It was clearly lost in translation. Is 68
Right.
ineligible? I do know this because I heard
Jake,
the audio.
can you explain for people in the audience who may not have seen the play? Just explain what happened.
Okay,
just
so
we can't show
at
it,
the
but
end of the
just give us-
game, they went for 2. Detroit was down 1. They went for 2. They threw it to Decker, who was
Go Bucks.
who thought he had reported as eligible. He was
Right.
ineligible, and the 2-point conversion was wiped away. Dallas then ends up losing the game because they don't make Detroit loses the game because they don't make the next 2-point conversion. The point was where it was controversial was who reported. And I think that right now it's the reporting process that's a mess. I think it should be a designated player, whether it's the quarterback or maybe it's the head coach. Only one player or coach can have that conversation with the official. That way there's no 3 guys coming up to the official. And the other thing I didn't like about that play, and I didn't like the way Dan Campbell handled the post-game news conference, he didn't fall on his sword. He said that you can't have 2 players that are eligible. We told them that 68 was going to be the announcement that was made in the stadium, and I've heard the audio. The referee announced that number 70 is an eligible receiver. They have to do that so the defense is aware of what's going on.
Yes, they do.
Right.
Because of that, Dallas didn't cover Decker.
Right, yeah.
They covered 70. So
Right.
I almost feel like it was a little gamesmanship by Campbell because he said in the news conference afterwards, I told the officials exactly what we were going to do.
This situation
before the game.
This situation is pretty unique. To Mary Kay's point, just in general, like I don't know that this could have been helped by replay because, like you said,
but
there are a
wouldn't
lot of calls that are just being left as wrong,
right?
Because they're not using replay properly. Plus, it's 2023. Why are we still using a chain gang?
I know.
For a first down,
no
it's
sense.
absurd.
You'd think there would be some technology that could tell you exactly where the tip of the ball ended up at its furthest point.
All these spots.
It's nuts. They'll fix that eventually.
There's
but
a chip in the ball.
To Mary Kay's point, what we have to do is on this issue, we have to clear up the eligibility thing. You had 3 players talking to an official. When the official walked away from Decker, the only thing somehow it was lost in translation. I don't know if Decker said, I'm telling you that number 70 is going to be an eligible receiver. I think there was some trickeration going on where Campbell wanted to confuse Dallas, where he thought that maybe Dallas would see that Decker was talking to the official. So they thought, Decker's reporting as eligible. But then when they announced number 70 was the eligible receiver, they clearly made the adjustment and covered number 70.
By the way, I love that he went for 2, but once you get the penalty, I would have kicked the extra point.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I would have. By the way, the other. Go ahead, Mary Kay. Sorry.
What I was going to say is that issue in and of itself, can be, rectified with a reporting solution. But in general, and Bull, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
In general, in 2023, I mean, the aliens that have come down from outer space have to be laughing at us that we are using. That we are not using the technology available to us to get these calls right. There is no way in 2023 or 2024 going forward that you should have a situation like this happen where there is human error and it can't be fixed. There needs to be some kind of mechanism, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a big code red button that somebody gets to push and stop the game in real time. Have some eye in the sky call down and say, all right, this was a major F up and we have to fix it right now because livelihoods depend on game. Histories of franchises can depend on a call like that.
No doubt.
And we have the ability to get this right. And in that moment, somebody should have been able to stop the game and say, let's fix this right now. That was a mistake, and let's get it right. And I don't know why that couldn't happen. I mean, maybe there's no mechanism in place for that to happen right now, but there needs to be going forward. And it's too bad it can't happen before the playoffs because you can't let something like this happen again.
I agree, Mary Kay, but we just remember it wasn't that long ago when the Rams and Saints were playing in the NFC Championship game, and it wasn't technology, it wasn't replay, it was human eyes that watched the Saints receiver getting tackled, physically tackled. It was the definition of pass interference.
Yeah.
And the call wasn't made, and they put the Rams in the Super Bowl instead of the Saints. You talk about livelihoods changing. the other thing, too, so the next year they said, okay, now all pass interference plays are reviewable. And almost as a way of saying, F you, when did they ever overturn a pass interference call? Even when it was obvious, they would look at it and say the call stands. And now it's not even reviewable anymore.
There's got to be a guy, there's got to be a sky judge that just, there shouldn't be this is reviewable and this isn't. The sky judge should just get the calls right. If it's an obvious mistake, correct it. If I have to look for 2 minutes, no. 30 seconds, the obvious calls, fix them, that's it. And by the way, one other rule that should be fixed is when you're on offense and you fumble at the 2-yard line, it goes out of bounds. That's the dumbest rule that the other team gets.
It killed the Browns a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a stupid rule.
Yeah.
No, it ain't for the defense.
Yeah.
Love the rule on defense.
Yeah, but it's so punitive.
Love it as a defensive player. It's the best thing.
I mean, if the ball goes out of bounds right before the pylon, you keep it right there. But if it goes into the end zone, you lose the ball. It's just,
touchback.
All right. Here's what it is.
Turnovers.
Mary Kay, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay, same to you guys. I'll try to get the tree down.
Mine is
I don't
still
think
up.
it's too late. I think, I think a reasonable time is the weekend after New Year's. And this weekend was on a New Year's, was on a weekend.
At the latest, the 8th.
I think by the 8th, yeah.
Okay, so Bull has spoken, and I like that.
Yeah.
January 8th, if your tree is up after January 8th, that's egregious.
I have a friend that leaves I haven't seen this friend in years, but a person I used to work with in Utica many moons ago, she would keep it up till like April.
My aunt, who died at 98,
Yeah.
once she turned like 80,
Yeah.
she lived by herself all the way up until 98. She just would put a sheet over the entire tree that was decorated. And the first time I came over, I'm like, Auntie Annie, what's going on over here? She goes, when you're turned 80 years old, you don't have the energy to take it down. So I put a sheet over it, just pretend it's not there.
It's one.
And then in November, I pull the sheet off and I'm done.
It's one baseball player. My wife showed it to me.
I saw that on Instagram.
He got the closet.
There's a
they
closet.
Just push it in the closet.
He's rich.
Oh, it's on wheels?
It's on. I guess.
Yeah,
he's got this giant closet right next to the tree. Pushes it in, and then he pulls it back out.
Who does that?
I don't know what player.
Hold on, I gotta see him.
That's brilliant.
Travis, while you're looking that up, I'll get some super chats in here before we welcome our next guest. And our first super chat comes from Firebird Entertainment. He said, "Happy New Year's, guys. I watch you guys daily. Tyvis, I met you at the Cardiac Club. What a great Thursday night." The Guard 16 says, "Go Browns, go Blue." Simple says, "I hear it's either Jarvis or Galladay. Who do you think's the better fit for this team? Hands down, I'd say Landry. His mentality is exactly what we need in the playoffs."
He's heard. What has he heard?
I just
No
tried to
offense
get
to that guy.
I just tried to get Mary Kay to start a rumor, fair and square. She wouldn't do it. So I don't know who he talked to.
Yeah.
But we discussed, I think we all agree, Landry, if they're going to go off the free agent market, is probably the most likely and best option.
It is.
Dontavius Winston says, "Mikey, stay off the weed," in a Stephen A. Smith voice. He also wants to know, should Miles play, or is DPOY a lock at this point for him?
It's not a lock, but he
I don't
shouldn't
think it is
play
either.
because of it.
Miles Garrett shouldn't be playing. He should be on bubble wrap, not doing nothing.
Okay, let me ask you this, because this is a possibility. What if Miles comes to you and says, "I think I could still be Defensive Player of the Year"? I think he's still in the conversation.
But
We don't
why
care.
would
You know
this
what you-
game matter?
you know what you
it's
tell
a
him?
meaningless game.
know.
The voters.
I agree with you.
I'm gonna tell you what.
But if you're Kevin Stefanski and you've made the decision, Miles isn't playing.
Yeah.
And it was funny when
There's
Amari
a couple
Cooper,
guys in that situation, by the way.
Amari Cooper had a conversation with Kevin Stefanski on the sidelines when he was going for the record.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was politicking to go back in, and Stefanski was like, "It's a hard no."
Yeah.
And then the way the game turned out, oh, God, we need another first down. They put him in, and he got the record.
Yeah.
What if Miles comes to you Wednesday when you tell him you're not playing and says, "No, Coach, this is big to me. I want to be Defensive Player of the Year. Let me play."
You say respectfully, Miles, this is something that you
Way
said
more
that
important.
winning defensive
Yeah.
player of the
Team
year,
comes first.
winning the Super Bowl in Cleveland will change your life forever.
Good answer. Yeah, I don't want him out there.
You can win defensive player of the year and you can be considered great, one of the best defensive players in Cleveland Browns history. Or you could do something that's never been done in Cleveland Browns history and have a legacy.
You want to be
those
Jared Allen
You know what you tell him?
or Reggie White?
and win a Super Bowl.
And by the way,
good one.
Is
You're right.
something he's going to do in a meaningless game going to change the voters' opinion?
You know, if he had 4 sacks, it would cement him as the DPOY.
Yes,
but here's the thing. I don't care about that. I know Miles does. I don't care about the
I
Defensive Player
can't
of the Year.
believe
and
he cares
shouldn't
about
either.
that more than the team.
I can't
and
either.
more than winning.
I can't either. So I would think that it would be,
This is
no, he's not
crazy.
playing. But by the way, if we ask the question, which one do you think's most likely to play? I think he's most likely to play because of this conversation that we're having right here. But the other thing, too, is, like you said, go win a Super Bowl. The Defensive Player of the Year thing is nice. Yeah. It's an individual award. It doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of
Myles
things.
Garrett should not even put Kevin Stefanski in that position to have to say no to him.
No, and if you're Kevin Stefanski, you look right back at Myles Garrett and you say, call Bradley Chubb. Ask him what I should
I'd
do.
say, Myles,
what does Bradley Chubb think I should do?
We can't win without you in the playoffs. I can't take the risk.
No,
I need you to win a Super Bowl.
Couple more Super Chats, and we'll bring in Ben Baby of ESPN. Professor Chaos said, the Browns are on their Infinity War arc right now. Kevin is Doctor Strange, opening portals to players from the past. Joe Flacco, now Jarvis need to arrive like Captain Marvel.
Okay.
Charles T says, by this time each year, I'm normally 20 mock drafts deep, 3 Madden Browns franchise leagues in, and waking up to reading the free agent tracker. Thank you to the 2023 Browns.
That's the truth.
Let's get to Vegas. Eric Spicer says Michigan is about to win a national championship with a quarterback who wanted to come to Ohio State but was turned away for Kyle McCord. That's a fireable offense by itself. No, it's not. And we'll save the last 3 Super Chats for after our next guest. And we're going to bring Ben Baby in. And his interview today is brought to us by Game Time. It's gametime.co, not gametime.com, just gametime.co. If you ever had a frustrating time buying tickets, you better be using the Game Time app in the future to erase any last-minute issues. They have the best last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. If you're looking for a ticket to a Browns playoff game, whether it's in Jacksonville, Indy, Houston, you should be using the Game Time app to get in. And if you use promo code LOCKEDON with your first purchase, you get $20 off. That is $20 off with promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, on the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. And with that, it is time to welcome in Ben Baby, the Bengals beat reporter for ESPN.com, to help us break down and preview this Week 18 matchup.
Ben, are you excited about this meaningless game on Sunday?
Listen, we are all excited. I heard, if we get a little Myles Garrett action, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think Trey Hendrickson will enjoy going up against Myles and competing against him in that way. I'm curious to see Jamar Chase has had a lot to say this season. Earlier in the year, he said that, he was going to break 100 receptions easy. Well, he's a little short of that. So is he going to try to play through that shoulder injury and really finish the year out strong? And you put up this number, between Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson. I think that's a great comparison. And you look at it, and listening to y'all earlier, I firmly believe that Myles probably should be the Defensive Player of the Year. When you look at his numbers, at ESPN, we track a lot of different things, and I created something called a rush impacts, which essentially is how many sacks you create plus interceptions created plus incompletions created, which is all 3 separate metrics we track. And when you put them all together, Myles Garrett leads the NFL with 62 impact rushes that create a negative play in the passing game. His raw QBR, when he gets the first pressure, it's like 3.9%, completion percentage of around 30%. I think Trey's had a really good year. His opposing completion percentage when he gets pressure is a lot better than Myles's, but when you look at the raw numbers, Myles has had an incredible year. And Mike Hilton said it best a couple weeks ago, when the Bengals were getting ready to play Pittsburgh. This division, the AFC North, might have the three of the best pass rushers in the league when you look at Myles, when you look at TJ Watt, and when you look at Trey.
Myles is the best, and Trey Hendrickson's the most underrated pass rusher in the league, I think.
Yeah. I agree, but I also think that goes to, Trey's a more quiet guy. I think the reporters tried to get him yesterday in the locker room and to ask him about sacks, and he kind of shrugged that off. He doesn't want to talk about a lot of that stuff. And, I'll be honest, I think that does hurt him to a degree, and it does hurt your profile. And you go look at, guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of times when you're doing really well, you're going unnoticed because you're staying, people are staying away from you. They're scheming away from you. And Trey does a lot of really good things. And I think that's part of maybe why he's been so underrated. And it doesn't also help that the Bengals have not been good this year, especially defensively.
Watt and Garrett have done it longer, though. They've been at the top of their games longer. Yeah. So I think that's why, if you compare him to the other two. But I think league-wide, I think he's got a lot of respect on his name this year.
Yeah, he's not as good as those guys. But I'm just saying, he's a top 6 or 7 pass rusher, and he doesn't ever get talked in that group.
I didn't realize he was in the same draft class as Myles and TJ Watt.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, but he hasn't been... Myles came out right away and made an impact.
No,
Yeah.
the last 4 years, Hendrickson's sack numbers 13.5, 14, 8, and 17 this year. Before that, his first 3 seasons were minuscule. But
Yeah.
the
Right,
last
he
4
didn't play
seasons,
much.
he's been
Right.
It don't
almost as
matter.
productive
He's
as
not in the
anybody.
same class as Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, to me, is in a class by himself. I think Myles Garrett is a good deal better than T.J. Watt. Is that unfair?
No, I think that. So I think that is. I would go with that. Yes, I think Miles is definitely better than TJ. I do think though that Trey does deserve to be in that conversation. I think that he's just as disruptive, causes a ton of problems. I mean, he has 17 sacks on the season. He's not like he's not having a bad year. He's got 3 more sacks than Miles. I think that's it's not the end all be all stat, but I'm pulling up the numbers right now. The opponent. So when Trey Hendrickson gets a first pressure, opposing quarterbacks have a completion percentage of 27.6%. That is a good number right there. When you look at some of the other top edge rushers in the league, you look at other just rushers in general. Aaron Donald, 35.5%. Miles, 38.2%. Trey is significantly lower in that regard. And so when he is getting pressure and he gets pressure at a high volume, he makes just as much of an impact as the other top players in the league. So, but I still do think, I want to be very clear, I think Miles definitely is at the top of that list, but Trey does belong in that conversation.
Ben, I've been, in my lab with a pen and a pad trying to get this label off. But I'm looking at T. Higgins, man. I mean, he would look real nice in that Browns uniform. I don't know what they can do.
Aren't they going to franchise tag him?
I'm asking you, what they going to do with T. Higgins?
I think that seems like, everything that we've heard so far. I wouldn't be shocked if they end up going that franchise tag route. I don't know if T would love it, but I think he would understand it's part of the business as well. But, the team was unable to get to a long-term deal with T, who is looking he views himself as a wide receiver 1. And when you look at the numbers, it's hard to disagree with that. I think when he's been targeted heavily and when he's playing well, he's as good as the top receivers in this league. And we're going to see a record number of mock edits of him in different uniforms this offseason of teams hoping they get T. Higgins. I joked during that game against Kansas City, at what point does Patrick Mahomes just walk across the field and just drag T and say, hey, you're with us now. We'll go ahead. We'll get you taken care of. I'm sick of throwing to these guys. I can't be throwing to MVS anymore. I'm going to throw you the ball, get you as many targets as you need. I think that, if they tag him and the Bengals look to trade him, there should be a lot of suitors for him. And when you look at what he's able to do, I think he is a great receiver and how he's good at getting separation. He's got really great feet for how big he is. I think that goes underrated. Everybody sees his frame, how long he is, how good he is in the air on contested catches. But when you watch him in practice at training camp and really get a look at him and look at his routes, I think that's where he's had the most growth. He's done a really good job. And talking to Bengals assistant coach Troy Walters, their receivers coach, he told me that when T came in, he was a little raw in that regard. And even T told me that was one of the biggest knocks on him coming out of the draft and probably why he fell to the second round. But when you watch him, the tape doesn't lie. He's a really good route runner. He does a great job of doing what you need him to do. And the fact that he came in and played in that game against Kansas City despite re-aggravating that left hamstring shows you what kind of competitor he is. So if I'm a team, I am trying to go get him and pair him with a quarterback because he's going to make that guy a whole lot better.
That touchdown he had 2 weeks ago was was unbelievable.
Play.
The awareness, the ability to bend and get the ball over the goal line, it was nuts.
The stretch. Ben, when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals this season, obviously you guys had a bunch of injuries on your team. But when you look at the Cleveland Browns, they also had injuries on their team, and they're still able to make the playoffs. Has what Kevin Stefanski done this year eliminated the excuse that the injuries is not the reason why you can't make the postseason?
Yeah, and I think Zach Taylor deserves credit as well, and there were going to be a lot of questions if the Bengals just packed it up and said, you know what, Joe Burrow's hurt. We know we're probably not going to win another game this year, and we're going to use that as an excuse. There would have been a lot of heat on that staff and for not getting it done because this is still a roster that played for an AFC championship last year, back-to-back division titles, and you got to give that whole roster and that coaching staff a ton of credit that even after Burrow went down, they were still in the playoff hunt. And we've seen other teams over the course of this season, not be competitive once they've lost their starting quarterback and really played poorly. And I think, Kevin Stefanski's done a fantastic job this year. I think what he does schematically to help Joe Flacco out is great. I think the product that they put on the field has been really, really impressive. And I've been really impressed every time we've seen Stefanski go up against the Bengals. He's obviously played very well against Cincinnati, and the Browns have played very well against Cincinnati. But I couldn't agree more that even if you lose a starting quarterback, you should still be good enough. Your roster should be good enough if you've built it the right way, if your locker room's built the right way, if you have the right culture, you should still be solid. You should still be competitive. And that's what we've seen from both of these teams. And that's why Cleveland has already locked up a playoff berth going into Week 18.
Ben, we were talking about the officiating and things they need to fix. In this Bengals-Chiefs game, there was just a ridiculous grounding call, intentional grounding on Jake Browning. It was a horrible call. And things like that just shouldn't happen. What did they say about that after the game?
It's funny. I asked Zach after, I believe it was yesterday. I said, is that something you're going to bring up? He goes, what's the point? We're already out of the playoff race. We're going to submit our calls to the league. And a lot of times, and he's, coaches, I think when you talk to coaches in the league, I think the thing they want is just communication. They want to know why something is called. They may disagree with it, but a lot of times what coaches get really upset about is a lack of communication. And there are things that have been brought up that I've heard from various guys and in terms of how to bridge that gap. And I think that's the most frustrating thing is that sometimes that level of communication just isn't there. And so, Zach obviously understood that, he said the guy that I was screaming at had the least amount to do with it. He was just on my sideline. Only one I could vent to was the guy on the other side of the field who made that call. But, I think as we move forward, there's definitely going to be a big spotlight on officiating. We saw what happened in the Detroit and Dallas game and over the course of the league. And I do want to say this, though, when people who are officials, they do want to get things right. I mean, it takes a certain type of person. I wrote a big series about this at the Dallas Morning News, profiled a high school crew, a college crew on a Friday and Saturday back-to-back. And a lot of these people, they understand what they're signing up for. And they have a certain personality type as well that, to want to be an official, A, you've got to really love the game, and B, you've got to really want to get things right all the time. Not everybody's really, fits both of those criteria. And so, it is unfortunate when things don't go well. These guys want to do well. But at the NFL, you've got to have the best of the best, and you've got to make sure that people aren't questioning, the integrity of the game to a large degree. I mean, I cover boxing. I know a lot of times I'll watch a fight, and you're just sitting there praying that the judges don't screw it up. And that's a terrible feeling. The last thing you want to feel as a fan is that you enjoy the product on the field or whatever the event you're watching, and you're just hoping the officials don't screw it up. That's the worst feeling you could have, and that's a bad thing for a sport, and I think that's something the NFL really needs to consider as they move forward this offseason.
Ben, is there a difference between the way Browns fans feel about Deshaun Watson and his shoulder moving forward and the way the Bengals fans feel about Joe Burrow's multitude of injuries going into next year?
I don't know. It depends. How are Browns fans feeling, I should say, about Deshaun? Y'all got to tell me.
Well, listen, that topic we trying to bury it. We trying to wait till the off season. It just keep creeping back up. People have been hitting me up. I said, listen, I can't talk about that right now. You trying to get me in trouble. We're just going to ride with Flacco for a little bit. But
there's nobody in Cincinnati saying they should stick with Jake Browning.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you that.
And I don't think anybody in Cleveland is saying they should stick with Flacco. That's not realistic because of the price tag on the quarterback. But I think it's worth the question of bringing Flacco back as an insurance policy for next season.
But it's not an apples-to-apples comparison because Joe Burrow's been great in Cincinnati. Deshaun Watson hasn't. That's a big difference.
It's a lot of money, though. A lot of bread.
Yeah, but at a certain point, we saw this, in the college game. If you're committed to winning at a high level, sometimes you just got to figure out, you got to eat it and move forward and say, you know what, it didn't work, and we've got to move on. Saw Texas A&M where Mike and I used to hang around a little bit. They had to pay Jimbo Fisher a ton of money, and I thought they'd cook them and find a way. Say, some booster's got a level 1 violation somewhere, and they said, no, we're going to be rich properly. We're just going to eat the bill and keep it moving. And at a certain point, the salary cap makes that a little more difficult. Yes, correct. Yeah,
Denver's doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. If you understand, you're going to end up making more money. It's going to be cost prohibitive for maybe a couple of years, but at a certain point, you just have to make a decision and say, is it working or is it not? Now, as for Joe Flacco, I'm very curious to see what he looks like moving forward because several times a game he throws a ball that he has no business throwing.
Yes.
And sometimes he gets away with it, sometimes he won't. I think when I look at Cleveland as a whole, that's the biggest concern I have is that in a key moment, is Joe Flacco going to throw into triple coverage when he absolutely should not? Like he has earlier this year. I think it might have been the Jets game, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember what team it was, but he threw a pick late in the fourth quarter, when the team, and Cleveland, I believe, ended up winning that game. But just watching back, I was like, that's a terrible interception. That's a terrible ball. I think it's the biggest concern I have with him is the windows that he pushes. So even if you do bring him back, I don't know how much of a viable solution long-term he would be. But you do need to figure out if you're Cleveland where you're at in this quarterback situation. Especially, this is a pretty good quarterback class. We'll see what happens. Can you find pieces to move? If you feel like you need to move up, what are the scenarios out there? But no, in Cincinnati, I think everybody is confident that Burrow can be, is the guy when they need him to be. I think it is a question, though, moving forward of his health and can he continue to stay healthy and can he kind of figure out how to manage his body as well. I think that's something that will come up this offseason.
Well, Ben, part of that process that you speak of, they really are handcuffed. They can't move up. They don't even have a first-round pick. This is the third straight year that they don't have a first-round pick because of this trade. So it's not just the money. The money, Haslam's writing the check. Fans shouldn't care about that at all.
I
the
think
currency
the
that really matters with fans is that they don't have the draft capital.
The discussion is after the 24 season.
Yeah, you got to at least go
well.
at least to the halfway point. In my mind.
That would be it.
And if after year 3 you still have the same questions that we have now,
then you're
going to eat 2 large numbers. Denver's doing it with Russell Wilson. You just have to cut bait and say he's not our guy.
And
if
he plays great next year, then
that's right. He can fix all of it by playing great.
Yeah. Last thing, Ben, real quick. I'm just curious. Joe Mixon's gone, right? I mean, Chase Brown, they should be using – I actually think they've done a bad job not using him enough because he looks sensational.
Yeah, he's looked good in spots. I think that, when he had his moment, a couple weeks ago, he had a really good touchdown on a screenplay, lots of speed that he puts on the field. And his snap share last week, I thought it was a little low for what we would expect to see out of him. I will say this. I think Joe Mixon, he doesn't produce a ton of big plays, but I think he's had a really good year. I think that he's given them what they've needed in certain spots. He's been able to, I think the best way that it's described by the coaches, if you ask him to get 5 yards, he's going to get you 5 yards. If he's going to get you 4, he's going to get you 4. I think he's done a good job, especially over the last few weeks, being patient, been good in the screen game. He's been very productive in that regard. But with this Bengals offense, I think one of the big reasons it's been an issue for them is they don't have any explosive runs in the game. I think that they need big plays in the ground game. I think that's what Chase Brown can potentially give you. He's just a faster back. You can feel a difference when he's on the field. And whether it's Chase Brown or somebody else, you've got to get that right because the way that defenses play Cincinnati, they are daring them to run and give up big plays. And one thing that's been underrated this year, when you look at the Miami Dolphins, everyone talks about their receivers and that passing attack. They run the ball incredibly well. They gash people on the ground. You can go look at it. There's a reason Raheem Mostert's had a really strong year. Devon Achane has done great as well. And they do, teams are selling out to stop the pass, and you've got to punish them on the ground. And Cincinnati has not been able to do that enough. And, we'll see what happens with that moving forward. But I think that's the biggest issue with Mixon. He's not creating enough big plays in the run game, and that's what Cincinnati needs.
Thanks, Ben. Good stuff, man.
Thanks.
Happy New Year, Ben.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year's to y'all. Take care.
Awesome. That was Ben Baby of ESPN. We're going to finish up our Super Chat and then do a little New Year's resolution segment for some Cleveland athletes. But if you're in the chat watching, hit the like button. Do us a favor. Start off 2024 right with the like button. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe. It's totally free, and trust me, it helps us out. Make UCSS the best product we possibly can. Couple more Super Chats here. Charles T said, since we're talking Ohio State and Browns, the Bears are running Justin Fields out of town. Should the Browns have an eye on him as a backup to Deshaun next year? No way Fields would be a backup next year, right?
No. There's 10 teams he could start for if the Bears run him out of town. Okay. I think the Bears are going to stick with him, actually.
They better.
All that draft capital, they can be stacked.
Yeah, they're going to trade that pick.
They better, man.
They should just draft Marvin Harrison.
I've heard the Steelers might be interested.
They said they're going to get Russell Wilson.
Well, good luck with that.
Who's they?
That's what I'm hearing.
I wouldn't like that.
Next Super Chat comes from Armac Dog. Happy New Year. Looking forward to another UCSS great year in 2024. I would like to know, what was the panel's predictions on the Browns season beforehand? I think we all had them between 10 9 or 10 wins on the fringe of the playoffs. And Earl had him in the AFC Championship.
I had 10 wins, and I wasn't moving off of it.
I was 9-8.
I think I had 9
I think we were all
8.
9-8.
I think I had 9
I said
and
10 and 7.
I think G had 10. G
Did
had
you have
10.
10? I thought you had 9 too. I
Somewhere
thought the three of
around
us
there.
went 9-8.
2 more. Michael Rivovich says Leroy should have to pay everyone their entry fee back if he wants to skip the punishment. And last but not least, Dank Nasty Assmaster
There you go.
says, Tyvis, to answer your question from Friday, I got my name because I'm a scientist who did his master's thesis on colon cancer pathology. True story.
Makes sense. I like
I
that.
mean,
Speaking of
yeah.
not Dank, not him, but I wanted to shout out my boy AC, who I played 2K with yesterday in the rec. He found out that I am the 2K version of Tyrese Halliburton. I had 20 points, 14 assists. So if you're on 2K and you want to run some rec, holla at your boy. I carry randoms all the time, so I get you some wins. Don't worry about it. I'm good enough.
2K is trash.
It is trash.
Yeah,
I had some time yesterday, and I decided to run 2K.
I watched season 1 of Dr. Death on Peacock during this break, and that show was wild.
I'm gonna check that
Based
out.
on
Is that the
based
show
loosely
I
on
saw?
swear I'm
Is that
about
the
to
one
look.
that was killing his patients?
Basically, yes.
Yeah. I don't want to spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not all of them, but
I saw the promo for
the
it.
promos for season 2. I actually watched
Oh,
season
okay.
1, which was really good.
Well, the promo for season 2 caught
looks
my
good
eye.
too. I started season 2, but it's a really good show.
Things brothers can't get away with.
Hey, speaking of that,
Imposter.
did you guys see? I'm sure you did. Did you guys see Reese Davis and his lead-in when he was talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
Melrose?
yeah.
Funniest clip that's ever happened in the history of TV.
And what's funny to me is I know Reese, and I know that even after everybody on the set was laughing, Reese still didn't know.
No,
clue.
you can see there was an
He-
exact
he was
moment.
like,
You can see the
what-
exact moment.
What did
where it
he
clicked.
say it stood
He
for?
said, "Let a naysayer know."
Yeah, that's
And
it.
this is the beauty, by
That's
the way,
what he said.
I've had so many people ask me, like, they don't get the beauty of Pat McAfee. They don't get that. A lot of people are like, "I don't get it. I don't understand it." The beauty of this guy is he's real.
Yeah.
And everybody on set, I know Herbie knew what it meant. I know Joey Galloway and Desmond Howard knew what it meant. But McAfee, when he heard him say he's got his own brand of clothing and he writes "lank" on his wristband, which means "let a naysayer know." And I'm sitting there going, "Wait a minute."
Well,
and Pat McAfee actually interrupted him
Right,
and said,
'cause the other guys-
"Wait a minute, that's not what it stands for. That's not what it stands for." And then Herbie's like, "Hey, be a professional. You can't interrupt him in the middle of his read."
Right.
But it created one of the funniest moments in the show's
they
history.
said.
Pat McAfee appeals to a younger audience.
Sure.
The rest of those guys are old school. None of them would have brought it up.
But he's like, he hears it, he pounces on it.
Reese Davis is like very square. He comes off as a
Reese is the
square.
nicest guy, but
Seems like-
he
yeah.
literally was
Yeah.
like, wait, what's going on here? Let a naysayer know.
And when he said naysayer, I almost was like, "Watch your mouth, sir."
Somebody texted me.
Don't
I had
you
a
get
friend-
caught.
I had a friend text me the funniest text. He said, "I was okay with it, but he shouldn't have gone hard R on naysayers." I lost it. That to me
There
was
was some
funnier than
very
the clip.
funny-
Yeah,
if you go
what?
to the Pat McAfee clip and just read the comments, I think most of the time Twitter comments are a
was
cesspool. Some of the best Twitter
Yo.
comments I've ever seen were underneath that.
Yo, he
But we
didn't
got
know.
10 minutes real
All
quick.
right. Here we go, Mike.
And we don't do this today. We can't do it. So
Here
let's
we
do
go.
some New Year's resolutions for some Cleveland athletes, owners, coaches, etc. As Tyvis recollects himself. So I'm going to give you guys a member of the Cleveland athletic scene. You have to tell me what you think their New Year's resolution should be. Jay, you're up first. You ready?
Yeah,
Jimmy Haslam. What's his New Year's resolution?
sell the team. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. It's the first thing that comes to mind.
That's not. It's not the first thing that comes to mind.
It is for me.
As he's cutting the beef Wellington around the estate table, talking about how great it is to have a 12-5 season. Jay's like, "Oh, no, sell the team. Good Hall of Famer."
Every once in a while, you
gotta sell when it's hot,
win in spite of obstacles.
Sell it while it's hot. It'll probably get
Or,
no
okay,
bigger.
I'll tell you what. He's not going to sell the team.
No, he's not gonna sell
He
it.
loves the spotlight. Step away.
Jay's worst nightmare is
Step away.
And your worst nightmare, if they win that Super Bowl, he's going to get this clout that is going to be.
And some of it will be deserved. Look, if he
he's
gets
never
the
gonna get-
blame for the 0-16, he gets the shine for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now that's a huge stretch, by the way.
I give
Right.
Dan Gilbert very little credit for the Cavs championship.
He
but
wrote a lot of
deserves some.
checks
Yeah,
that
he wrote
other
a lot of
owners
checks.
would not have written. So for me, It's not. He's not going to sell the team. That's not.
No.
But what I'd like to see him do is just say, you know what? I'm not as smart of a football mind as I thought I was.
Yeah, certainly
And
not.
what I'm going to do now is I am going to hire somebody that's at the top of the food chain that I trust and believe, and tell him to go hire all the right people.
He doesn't even have to hire anybody. Everything's good in place now. Leave it be.
I wouldn't go everything.
I don't know. I think it's good right now.
I
I
think
wouldn't
we
mess with
still
it.
the Deep Podesta thing. I'm not good with.
Let's relax
You
right
love J
now.
Dub?
No, he's an idiot, but, what are you going to do?
Okay.
G. Bush, you're up next. Mm-hmm. What is Nick Chubb's New Year resolution?
Retribution. Nick Chubb's coming. Nick Chubb gonna be working out tomorrow. He's working out today, and I think what's gonna drive him crazy is if the Browns don't make it to the Super Bowl or win it, which I think is a very good chance they could. Nick Chubb, for either way, is not gonna feel good about it. Either way, he's gonna feel like if I was there and they lost, I could have did something about it. Or if he's going to be happy for his teammates, but he's going to not say that was part of his legacy. Like for him, he wants to be on the field. So I know for a fact, he's right now going through torment. Like he's coming back next year with a big chip on his shoulder because I think he wants to be out there so bad, and he feels like his teammates carried him on this one a little bit,
By
which
the
is
way,
unfair.
did everybody not have goosebumps when he came out for the guitar?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember
Yeah.
a game in the stadium. I've been going for years. I'm not going to throw the old stadium in. I can't remember an atmosphere that was better than this one.
Hey, shout out to the
Me and
fans.
Jason said it
You
on
know what?
Friday.
Let me clap it up for you. I challenge
It was
y'all.
a college football type atmosphere.
That's what
I challenged y'all at the beginning of the year. I was watching old dog pound
They was
videos,
barking?
and when y'all be and keep banging on them tinfoil roofs too, because I like when
pissed off Al Michaels.
Michaels was like, oh my gosh,
I love that Astros crack he had.
he did.
Yeah, that was
He
nice.
stuck that in.
Tyvis, you're up next. What's the Sean Watson? What should his New Year's resolution be?
Hey, be nice. Don't play around.
No, don't be nice. Just come at him.
Yeah.
New Year's resolution for D. Wade is look like a $230 million man. That's what it is.
Or you mean not look like? He looks like a 230.
No.
I mean, he got jewelry.
Play like a
Hey,
$230
he looks like-
million
He got
man.
the jewelry.
That's it.
He's got the
he got
starter.
the
He's
lifestyle.
He's got the starter.
Boy,
Play like a $230 million man that a franchise gave away 3 first-round picks. I have to look like that guy this season. Have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Joe Flacco has came in off the streets and looked phenomenal. So we know it's not Kevin Stefanski
Bar's been
anymore.
raised.
It's all on you. If it doesn't happen, everybody in Cleveland knows that you are the problem.
All right, Bull, you're up next. You got
true.
a combo.
Yeah.
What is your New Year's resolution for the trio of Miles Straw, Stephen Kwan, and Will Brennan?
Why did they get?
I don't appreciate Miles Straw being lumped in with those other two guys.
What you mean? You got a Miles Straw jersey.
he came.
Miles Straw resolution is to become right now he's the second worst player in baseball. Only his teammate Austin Hedges is worse, and he's hoping to move up to the third worst spot. He's got to take it a notch up, become the third worst player, the third worst hitter in baseball, and not be quite as inept. His resolution is to hit 2 home runs this year. 2. That's just for Quan. It's for Quan and Brennan, it's a little more consistency. I think only Quan is a starter. But I think Brennan's looking for some consistency, and same for Quan. So there you go. I have nothing exciting for you. Sorry, I didn't love my answers, but I wasn't in baseball mode.
Bull said it. The Bull got him at 72 wins.
I want to give you one.
Shoot.
Kevin Stefanski.
Well, he was on my list. He was coming back. I think for Kevin Stefanski, it's to enjoy the moment. It's gone through so much chaos in 4 years. When it was good, it was COVID. Then it was the turbulence. It was the up and down. It was the should he be extended, should he be fired. After the Seattle game, we did a poll in this exact chat, and 82% of this chat said they wanted Kevin Stefanski fired for throwing the ball on 4th down against Seattle. So now it is all flowers, Kevin. Enjoy the moment. Sit back, and the job's not done, obviously, but relish in the fact that you have officially secured yourself as the best modern-day coach of this franchise.
Earl, what about J.B. Bickerstaff?
Earl, you're up. And he's on my list, too. What is J.B. Bickerstaff? What should his New Year's resolution be?
That he figure out how to use all this damn talent he got on this team or use the damn job.
Man,
What talent does he have? Half the team's hurt.
that's crazy.
Donovan Mitchell just decided he doesn't want to play for the last 3 weeks. I don't know what's going on with him.
That was
played
a
the last 2 games.
That was a crazy
That's
sequence.
how close I'm paying attention. Why did Donovan Mitchell? Does anybody know why Donovan Mitchell didn't play for 2 weeks?
Wasn't he hit?
He
Wasn't
had
he
a
sick?
doctor's note.
He played the last 2 games.
Yeah, but he didn't play for 2 weeks.
I
Mike,
think he was.
right?
He probably
He
had
missed
COVID.
4 games, played the last 2.
Why did he miss those 4 games?
He was listed as illness.
Ew, yeah, he was
But
sick.
he was good enough to sit on the bench.
The flu was going around in Cleveland.
If you have the flu, you sitting on the bench?
No.
And McNuggets, we didn't get that. We didn't get the memo. You know, they traded R.J. Barrett. They traded quickly. What do they have to? What do the Knicks have to trade now if we are trying to move Donovan Mitchell?
How was
Unless
that
you
trade?
wanna
Was that a
take
good
Julius
trade by the
Randle.
Knicks or no?
Jalen
I
Brown.
thought it was a lot.
I think
did you
it's a
like that
pretty good
trade?
Yeah, for the Knicks, I did. Yeah, I really like quickly, but they have so many. For the Knicks, they have like 3 or 4 guards who just didn't have enough minutes for.
Yeah,
they're
so
gonna
they
have
just
other
cleared
guys.
out some space.
And Barrett has potential, but Anunoby is a better defender, which they desperately need. They needed another
Yeah.
wing defender. Him and Josh Hart on the wings now. That's a damn good defensive.
And in
wing
the
tandem.
playoff times, that's going to be a tough matchup.
So
Yeah,
why can't we make no moves? What like,
Well, I have a Cavs topic tomorrow. I'm very interested to hear you guys' opinions on. We only have a minute
right.
left, so I want to
All
get so
right.
rapid fire, real quick. Other things I had on the list. New Year's resolution for Evan Mobley.
man?
Stop being so soft.
Learning some moves.
Jumper,
Dolans.
J work.
The Dolans.
Sell the team.
Get it,
Spend money.
Get a payday cash loan.
Open the wallet.
Flacco. Joe Flacco.
Win.
Walk into the sunset with a Super Bowl ring.
Stop. Tell every media member to stop saying "got off his couch."
No, go.
Got off his couch. Got off. Joe.
Did you guys ask this last week? If
go-
he wins a Super Bowl,
Oh, he's got to retire.
is he a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Has to be.
Go to
Yes.
Beechwood Mall
We
and
did that
buy a
one?
new pullover.
We didn't.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's it. He's a Biden.
See you on overtime.
Yeah,
I
they'll
think-
see you on
I
overtime.
think-
We're
I'd have to
talking
look real
refs
hard, but I think
versus
he
the
is.
NFL.
You
and
know
how
he's
good
in the top 20 in passing.